Hey, what's up, Michael? How you doing?
Good, Gabe. How you doing, brother?
Good, good, good.
Hey, everybody. Happy Saturday.
Yeah, welcome to another episode of Collection Wars. We got a bunch of our buddies already jumping on here.
And one of our buddies is right here in my own personal gallery. Say hello to Sean.
There you go. Where is he? What's up,
Buenos
Sean?
dias.
What up?
Well, man.
It's good to have him here, man.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
All the way from
You're-
California.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you already try any good food or what?
Yeah, we went to the Grist Mill.
Yeah, we
Grist
went.
Mill?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was bomb.
we had a really good dinner, and man, we just got back, man. Just like literally. a couple
Like
minutes
Just right
ago.
now. Awesome.
But it's
Yeah.
always great having guys like Sean show up here and checking out the gallery. What do you think about the gallery?
Dude, it's sick. It's so sick.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyways, I'll let you guys get to it.
Yeah. No.
All right. Nice seeing you, bro.
Later, man.
Hello, everybody.
Cool, man.
We're all in here. We got a lot of people here.
Yeah, we got Chris, we got Joseph. What's up, Joseph? We got Jose, Scott, Kelvin, Coy, Armando, Robbie,
Armando,
Rolando. What's up, Rolando? Izzy.
Izzy, the freight's coming out Monday. I promise. I know you got plenty of projects, but damn.
Yeah. Cool. And Pete, what up, Pete?
Hey, Pete.
Cool. Well, yeah, tonight, guys, we have a very special interview. Am I hearing an echo? Is that me?
I don't hear the echo. You're not echoing over here, though.
Yeah, so we got a really awesome guest, John Eblan. He worked in ILM. He worked on the prequels. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you guys are going to see. Michael and I and Joseph did the interview a little earlier today just because of the time difference. So we're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to play the interview. You know, we'll be watching along with you guys and everything. And then after the interview, we're going to kind of just jump back on. So, yeah, other than that, Michael, what's up? What's up with you? Anything new?
Yeah, just a lot of little projects still going on. I've been working on the ion cannon and just a lot of little things. We poured the slab for the studio scale gallery this week. So a lot of fun things going on the Star Wars side of things. It was great to have Sean and his beautiful fiance Bianca show up and hang out with them. It's always a good time seeing all you guys, friends again. So
Yeah.
good.
And look at that 88. You got him.
Yeah, I finally got him. Gabe's guys have been giving me a hard time because he's always been headless because I was working on the balance of him and everything. And
Yeah.
he's
Dude, that
out
looks
like this guy.
freaking awesome.
Yeah, he's a cool piece. That was a fun build for damn sure.
Yeah. And that IG88 back there. Is that IG88 or IG11?
That's IG88.
88.
That's the tall one. This is the 7-foot one.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I'm excited to show you guys the interview. It's gonna be awesome.
Yes.
Anything before we do it?
No, man. I look forward to you guys hanging out and make sure you join us for the after party afterwards. We're gonna hang out. Gabe and I.
Same show. We're gonna be live even right now while the show is playing. We'll still be live. All right. So.
And before we start, just a quick from Gabe and I, a special thanks to Joseph for reaching out to his friend, and putting this interview together. They've done a lot of stuff over the years, and now it's one of Gabe and I's friends. It's really cool.
Yeah. No, I can't wait to show you guys. Man, you guys are gonna be really blown away by the stuff that.
It's so inspirational, Gabe. Right? I mean, just this story on. It's always cool to hear that somebody's been part of the film industry, especially ILM, and then working in the films. But hearing the story of how he gets to there is just very, very, very intriguing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's go forward with the interview. Let's play it for everybody, we'll see you guys in a little bit. I mean, we'll be watching along with you guys.
Yeah.
So. Hey, John, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us, John.
I appreciate you guys having me on. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, and Joseph, what's up, Joseph? Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm glad to be on with John. It's been a long journey together, so I'm happy that he could come on the show and talk about his career, incredible career.
Absolutely.
How you doing, John?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Good, brother. Good.
Excellent.
So, John, I mean, before we jump into your amazing career and all the cool stuff, that you've worked on, we always like to ask our guests, right off the bat, are you a Star Wars fan? And if so, what got you into Star Wars as a kid?
I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. My earliest memory of Star Wars is seeing the commercials on TV, the original trailer on TV, seeing the cover the magazines in the grocery store, going in the grocery store as a kid, and it was my first drive-in experience, and I was the youngest of three, the only boy, so I had to sit in the back seat at the drive-in and watch the movie. But I'll never forget it. And part of what I loved about the movie was the mechanics of it, the design, the ships. It blew me away with the realism, with just that galaxy that they created with the realistic looking vehicles, the dirtiness of them, the utilitarian function, the clean bad guys, the dirty good guys. It was just such a wild ride for me to watch. As growing up as a kid, it was amazing.
That's a great way to put it. I've never heard it that way. It's true. That's how it was.
Mm-hmm.
The good guys were dirty and the bad guys were clean. That's crazy. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. And
cool.
John, did you start getting all the toys and all the old vintage figures?
I did. I remember, there was the whole, when the Star Wars toys first came out, there wasn't anything available for Christmas. I didn't get the that little advanced kit or anything like that.
Early bird.
Yeah, the early bird kit. I think it was like just basically whenever the toys hit the shelves was when I got them as a kid. And every Christmas, every birthday, it was Star Wars toys, and I had absolutely no problem with that. The Christmas that all of the Empire toys came out was the Christmas that my family decided to put all those toys, wrap them, and put them in a giant box under the tree, and then tell me that it was something else that I really was not interested in. Yeah. So of course, Christmas gets there, and I start opening up everything. I'm like, no, I'm getting toys, no Star Wars. And then I get to the big box and I start opening up, the snow speeder and the twin pod cloud car and just all the Empire stuff. And I was just, that was Christmas. That was Christmas for me.
That's a great story. I love hearing that.
What a great experience.
I was feeling it.
I know.
Because I remember all those boxes and
that Christmas morning. I grew up in Massachusetts. That Christmas morning, it was 9 degrees out, and I remember we had to go across town to family. And I remember, grabbing my little tiny Yoda that looked in the little fabric cape with that little red snake curled around his neck and his arms, and just putting that in my coat pocket, taking that with me, and just couldn't wait to get back home to get to all that stuff.
Man, that's so cool.
Yeah,
great memory.
Yeah. So, John, did you obviously once you started getting the figures and the ships, were you one of the kids? Because we always talk about this, right? Were you one of those kids that went outside and played with your toys, or did you set them up and in scenes?
Yeah, I would again, I was only boy in the family, but kids across the street, we were all the same age, we all had Star Wars toys, we'd all bring them together. Mine came home every night, went and got put away. Theirs kind of stayed in the mud a little bit, and dogs got a hold of them. But no, yeah, we played with them. We kept them in good shape, played with them. But the other thing that I also remember is making the stuff that I didn't get yet out of cardboard, whatever I could get my hands on. Making a sand crawler, making an X-wing out of cardboard and whatever I can get my hands on. And and that's really, I think that's really just when my love of making things started. Was was in that arena. Is wanting to, they did such a good job of putting out so many photographs back then of all the concept art and everything that wasn't made, all the Ralph McQuarrie stuff, and I would do my best to try to duplicate it, try to make it.
Yeah.
None of that stuff survived, unfortunately. Into
cool
my
to have
also just I would love to see actually what it was that I built versus what it was that I remember, and just try to be able to compare those two things. Was it as good as I thought it was, or was it really just not good at all? The craftings of a 10-year-old or whatever.
So, John, would you say then that you started scratch building these types of models before you got into building model kits, or did you do them kind of at the same time? Oh, you did.
Oh, definitely. It was growing up in the 70s, it was different than obviously than it's been in for the past 20 years or so. I mean, in the 70s, you got toys at birthdays and holidays. Nowadays, you kids, adults get toys whenever they want. They're so much more plentiful. So if there wasn't a toy out there that, but I needed it, if I needed a sand crawler, if I needed a spaceship, a Star Destroyer, I'd make it out of cardboard. And that was what you did, maybe enhance some details with Lego pieces and stuff like that. But the model kits, I mean, they were there, but they were never really something that at that age that I was interested in. If I could get my hands on the Kenner X-Wing, I was happy. If the Kenner, not the Kenner, but if the MPC X-Wing was on the shelf next to it, I'd probably still want to go for just at that time the built toy.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow, that's good to know.
So then, what led you kind of into the passion for model making and kind of?
It's always been Star Wars. When I did get older, when I got into my I'll say the Return of the Jedi era, when the model kits were everywhere. You could go to a grocery store and have the model kits, and they were plentiful. They were inexpensive. They were small, snapped together. So you could buy an A-wing for, gosh, back then they were probably $4 or $5 a piece.
Yeah, I remember.
And so a trip to the grocery store back then, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna help my mom. I'll tell her if I push the cart, can I get something? And then come home with a model kit and paint it with a brush with whatever paints were in the house back then. I do have a couple of those old models still left in a box. I've got the TIE Interceptor that. It's basically everything's unpainted except for the black, and the black was in the solar panels was hand painted with whatever bottle of acrylic tester's paint I could get my hands on, with whatever brush I could get my hands on, and that was when my introduction into models began. But honestly, prior to my first paid gig back in 96, 97. I hadn't built a lot of models, which is weird. It's my educational background in high school and college was architecture. I spent that's where I kind of figured my talent was going to go. I loved doing the renderings in architecture class, and I remember my 12th grade architecture teacher at high school basically chastising me and telling me that no one's ever going to pay me to put that type of detail into anything.
No.
But I wanted to do it. I wanted to put the everything that you saw that you'd see looking at a house. I wanted to put that detail in that drawing. And he's like, you're taking too long. You're doing too much. They're not gonna, that's not necessary. And I'm like, I don't agree with that. And so we didn't see eye to eye on that. And so moving from architecture with that underlying love of Star Wars always being there, that always kind of pushed me and motivated me artistically. But I had this issue where I never finished anything that I really began. If I start a project when I was a late teen or or early 20s, creatively I would start something and then I would just get bored with it and I'd move on, or I'd encounter a difficulty with it and I would lose interest. Trying to make we at one point, a couple of us we were trying to make body panels for our cars. Mm-hmm. Like kind of like high end, basically cheap things. We didn't have to buy spoilers or ground effects or fins. So we thought we'd try to make them ourselves. So we experimented with fiberglass and Bondo, and it just wasn't coming out right. So it's like I don't want to do this. Yeah. Move on to something else. And that was me. And then at some point something clicked, and when it came to being project oriented, I suddenly, almost like a light switch, just went from being able to having the no interest in finishing it to all of a sudden being able to just want to see that project through from start to finish.
Yeah. And
that's probably back then was probably around, Star Wars had kind of gone dormant back in the early 90s. At the age that I was at, honestly, just in the circle of people that I was with, it wasn't cool.
Yeah.
And so you just kind of just keep that to yourself.
Yeah.
And Star Trek was really more of an emerging interest, pop culture wise. Yeah. The movies were ramping up. Of course, Star Trek: The Next Generation was coming on the TV. So there was just more of that at the time. And that's really when my interest in model making kind of really took off. The Starfleet ships, they're so beautiful. They're designed, they're amazing when they're lit up. It's one of the things that you could take any Starfleet ship and light her up, and she's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And in some ways, some of them they look better when they're lit up. Star Wars vehicle, on the other hand, so many of those, don't have to be illuminated to be such a beautiful piece of art. Perfect example to me is the X-wing fighter. You look at the X-wing fighter from any angle, and it's a beautiful balance of everything that it is. And with a few exceptions, the only thing that's really lit up on an X-wing are the engines. You can light the cockpit, you can light the droid, you can light the wingtips, the lasers on the wingtips, but lighting those doesn't increase the beauty of that piece so much that it does, like, let's say, a Star Trek ship, where once you light the nacelles on an Enterprise, it's like that ship just comes to life, and she is that character.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where my interest started going, was the electronics, trying to recreate how they did it, and just kind of go on from there. Yeah. And at that time, again, kind of like how the Star Wars kits were back in the late 80s, they were so plentiful that at that time, the Star Trek kits were plentiful. You could, we still had hobby shops. We still had a hobby shop in the mall that you could pick up a ship. Of course, being a 20-year-old guy, it's a little risky walking into a mall and buying a Star Trek model kit, because you don't want to be seen as that nerd back then.
Nerd.
It's all different now, though, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Oh.
Yeah. Go ahead, Joseph.
Say, so it's very interesting, because usually the story is that someone grows up, they build models, they're very into it, they build a portfolio, and then they get a job doing that. Whereas you're saying, you weren't really building a whole lot of models before you got your first paid gig to do that. So it's how did you kind of land that job without a portfolio?
Yeah.
Well, the first paid gig was that was the Voyager I did for Fine Scale Modeler magazine. I built that in a 1-bedroom apartment while working full time, 2 jobs, going to school. It was just I loved the ship. It was beautiful. And I put a lot of work into it. I did a lot of extra detailing onto it. This was early internet, if internet at all. So reference, finding reference was tough. It was basically it was a lot of recording the show on VHS and a lot of rewinding and freezing and pausing and stuff like that. But I built the ship, I lit the ship, and always a fan of the magazine. I remember actually being able to, I called and I was actually able to reach out to the actual editor of the magazine. And I told him, I said, I did this Voyager. I documented my work. Would you guys be interested in putting a photograph in there? And he said, well, let's see what you got. Maybe we can do more. So he looked at what I had. He asked me to put together a story and some text, put together the photographs and everything. And I sent them all that. I sent them the model, and months later, I got a check because they bought the article. And I thought to myself, I might actually be able to do this, something that I like, and get paid for it. And
So cool.
That's really probably that was the springboard is finding out that when I put the model together, I loved it. I loved the time I put in on it. I basically kind of taught myself how to airbrush with one of those very, very inexpensive Testors airbrushes and the cans of air, because I was living in an apartment. I couldn't have an air compressor running. I'd get thrown out. So I must have went through $150 worth of canned air, airbrushing that thing. So I guess I realized, I might actually be able to make a living at this. So that's kind of where when my interest really started taking off. And then around that time, Star Wars had reemerged as a to some people a new thing, but to a lot of us, the old thing that we loved. But then the next big thing was that the Star Wars Celebration in Denver was going to be happening, and was interested in that as a fan. But then I thought, well, is there a way to go out there to do this thing, but also maybe make some money at it? So put together a plan to basically build as many models as I could and go out there and sell them. I reached out to AMT to see if I needed permission. I reached out to Lucasfilm to see if I needed permission, and basically both parties, for the most part, said as long as the other has no problem with it, we have no problem with it. So I'm like, okay. It was actually my first correspondence with Steve Sansweet. That was back in I guess 1999. We became friends after that, which was ironic. And so built a bunch of models, TIE fighters and Slave Ones and X-wings, and we basically cleared out the KB Toy models that we had. We opened up, I don't know, maybe 20-30 kits of TIE fighters, and we had a whole bunch that were imperfect molds. We used those. We built a big diorama of the Death Star trench using all the little base plates that came with it, and it was amateur. And I'd never done anything like this before. Our booth was black curtains and foam board. Yeah. Whatever I could print off my Epson printer for signage and stuff. Got it all out there. We probably sold 80 to 85% of our stock. So it paid for the trip. Of course, we spent most of that trip working in that rainy, muddy condition. So we didn't see a lot of the show, but we saw enough. It was quite an adventure. Brought that stock home that we didn't sell and put it on eBay. Nice. And that gained us a wider audience. Yeah. So we, instead of just selling to a few small groups at a convention, we were shipping TIE fighters over to Japan and Germany. And one of the things that's always benefited us with eBay back then was, you put something like that on there to sell, and somebody sees it and they're like, yeah, I like that TIE fighter. Can you do this? And also, I'm like, Yeah, why not? Sure. Okay, we can do that. So it built a client base for us, some of which, I mean, are still clients today, and that's going back 2 years. And so it was that was an amazing opportunity to be able to do that and get that that client base that was international. That was quite an experience.
So then what led, so obviously now you're making models, you're making some money. What led to the film industry and eventually ILM, right?
Yeah. Well, during my kind of during this time, I had gone into film school down in Orlando at UCF, and it was a great program, but I felt like that program was only going to give me an education on film, that it wasn't going, I didn't feel it was going to give me an exposure to film. So I basically dropped out, and kind of aimlessly, not really sure what I was going to do, working on the models. One bored Sunday morning, I came across the HR address for ILM. This was back when their website looked like it was real basic. It looked like the Matrix. It was just green text on a black backdrop. Yeah. And so I came across their website, came across the HR email address. I simply emailed them. I said, I'm interested in doing models. Do you only hire from the inside? Do you hire from the outside? And I sent that email off, and I was on cloud 9, because I said to myself and friends and family, I said, I just emailed ILM. They're going to tell me no, or they're not going to answer me at all. But I emailed them. I reached out. Yeah. And about a week later, I get an email stating, please send us a copy of your portfolio. And I'm like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. It was actually it was a person. It wasn't like some auto replies thing or anything like that. It was a person who wrote it, because they had read the body of my email, so they knew that I had a portfolio to actually send them. So I put together a portfolio based on the work that I had done up until that point. I printed it up on my Epson printer, put it in a little binder that I picked up at Staples, and mailed it off to them. And I remember thinking to myself that I'm going to send my portfolio to ILM. They're going to have photographs of my work at ILM, and they're going to say no. And I was okay with that, because of all the people that I knew, I'm like, nobody else can say that. Yeah. So hey, how cool is that?
You got to try.
So, yeah. So a week or so later, I get another email asking for a copy of my work, a sample, and I'm like, oh well, this is getting serious. Still being the doubting Thomas, I thought to myself, I'm going to make something for them. I'm going to send it to them. They're going to keep it, break it, and I'm never going to hear from them again. But I know that a piece of my work, my art, is sitting at ILM in some weird Area 51 warehouse. So over the course of about a week or two, I built the Imperial Lander. At that point, it was more concept than, because it was in the special editions, but just that little tiny shot in the background. So I scratch built an Imperial Lander. It's actually sitting behind me on the shelf. Where's it at? There it is, back there in the corner right there. Yeah. So I scratch built that. There was scratch building. There was electronics. There was Bondo in there, putty, kit bashing. The electronics, like I said. And I packed it up and I sent it off to him. And all the while, just never wanting to get my hopes up, just being cautious. And then I got a letter from them a few weeks after that, and it stated that they liked my work. It was what they were looking for, but they don't pay for relocation. And I'm like, well, that's kind of like almost like an incomplete thought that they kind of gave me. Yeah. So I booked a trip to California. I went out there and I called the model shop supervisor and told him I'm here. I said, Keith, how about an interview? And I'll never forget, he says, sure, if you think it'll help. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I never really asked him what he meant by that, but I'm assuming that what he meant was you don't really need it, but come on in and we, so we'll talk. So I did. I drove from LA up to the Bay Area before GPS. So I'm not good at navigating. So so got myself up to the Bay Area. I found the ILM campus, which was not easy to find because they don't want it easy to find. So I found it the night before, and I was ready for my interview the next day. And at that point, I had with me a scratch-built snowspeeder that I had built for somebody. I had that with me. So I brought that in there under my arm with another copy of my portfolio, and went in. I spoke to him, and he was, he asked me a lot of questions about laser cutting and things like that. The whole time, I don't know, the 45 minutes to an hour of the interview, he was trying to sell me on the place. Oh, we're working on this, and we're going to be working on episode 2 soon, and he was trying to sell me on the place. Wow. And it was surreal is the best way I can think of describing it. Yeah. And he's kind of looking over my resume, which, at that point I described myself as a freelance artist. And I had done work for architects, for educators, some museums and things like that. So I had a little bit of professional body on there. So he pulls out this little chart, and he kind of looks the chart over, and he says, well, based on this, we can start you at this tomorrow. And wow. I'm just like, in my head, I'm doing that screen.
Hey, John, let me just real quick. This is a fantastic story. So real quick to back up just real fast. So this awesome story that you're telling us right now, are you married at the time?
Yes.
Do you have kids at the time?
Married with a daughter.
Okay, so now we're like, oh my gosh.
Back on the East Coast.
Yeah, so babe, we're getting ready to move to California.
Well, here's the thing. So, so he's like, can you start tomorrow? And this was Thursday. And I said, can I start on Monday? He's like, okay. So I left and left the interview, and I sat in the car, and I'm sitting there, and I'm suddenly it's hitting me about what opportunity is in front of me right now, going from small town East Coast to North Bay, San Francisco. And I'm like, this is such a big decision. And, and for a split second, I thought to myself, you know what, this might be too big. I could just tell everybody back home it didn't happen, and just go home and just take the simple way, the easy way out of making a giant decision like that. Yeah. And so that was in my head for all of about a fraction of a second, and then I called my wife, and I'm like, can you send me my tools and have them on Monday? She's like, I can, and I'll start packing.
Wow.
So, wow.
That's so cool.
That gave me chills. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it was years before I told my wife about what had gone on in my head, because it was that moment where, you make decisions every day. Most of them are micro decisions. Yeah. And then occasionally we have to make big ones, but at that point, that was uprooting. That would be me uprooting my entire family. Yeah. To a culture that we were just not familiar with. Yeah. And it was just, it was something else.
And look at this. And this is where it led to. Look at you're an ILM model maker. Look at the names on here. You got John Berg, Lauren Peterson. And your name right here. Yeah. What an amazing story. Yeah. Just to go from that to all of a sudden working with these, legendary model makers.
People that I had been following almost my entire life up until that point. when so I got to work on Monday.
Yeah.
And at that point I was living in a hotel right down the street and using my off time to look for an apartment. And I remember leaving Monday, and the model shops would always do this beer night. They'd get together at the end. Yeah, actually, maybe it might have been the end of, I don't know when it was. It might have been a Friday night, but it was the end of the night, and I'd been there, and I remember leaving that night. And as I was leaving, everybody that I had started working with, all great people. But as I was leaving, Warren Peterson walks in the door, and nicest man. He's like, who are you? And I'm like, John Eblan. I just started working here. He puts his arm around my shoulder. He turns me around and walks me back in. He's like, well, tell me about yourself. And I'm like, okay. And the ability to maintain one's composure in that scenario is, I did it apparently, because I didn't get thrown out. They didn't call security, but it was just, again, that's just a moment that I'll just never forget, about just how warm and welcoming he was, and how the entire staff was there. Just okay, so here you are, come on in, we're gonna this is where your desk is at, this is what you're doing. And there were many surreal days at work, and many.
And John, was one of your first projects at ILM Star Wars?
Actually, my first project was Pearl Harbor. Which was kind of funny, because so I started there. It was end of October when I started there, as I recall. The fall of that year, I remember getting a magazine, Total Movie Magazine. On the cover of it was a clip of the movie Pearl Harbor, and that magazine actually came with a DVD full of trailers. And one of the trailers was Pearl Harbor. It was like a 2 or 3 minute trailer on there. And it was all the practical shots. They hadn't done the visual effects yet, because the movie, it was still working on it at that time when they cut that trailer together. So it was a lot of shots of the airplanes flying through the mountains and stuff like that. A lot of scenes of the actors, and I thought, this looks like a really good movie. And this might have been like, I don't know, August or September when I saw that trailer, and then here it is. October rolls around, and they're like, you're gonna be working on Pearl Harbor. I'm like, okay. So they set me up at a desk. They gave me my instructions. Basically, we were building all those buildings there. All the gantries, everything that you see in that shot, that's all just a 1/6 scale set. So
we were cool.
Yeah, so we were just building all that. We were, they were using the same stuff I was using, the same glue, same everything. It's just, so it was just like going from working in a small desk in an apartment to working in a 2,000 square foot warehouse, with 30 to 40 other people all working on towards the same goal. Yeah. And so it was pretty cool. It was an amazing learning experience, because I did not by any means know everything, and I'll never claim to. Yeah. But I looked at it as I went to Model Maker University. That was like the Yale or the Harvard of those universities, and I was being taught by the Einsteins, and I soaked up every minute, every opportunity I had. I would get in early and kind of work on my own little thing, own little project. I'd work throughout the work day on whatever I was assigned to, and then in the evening I'd stay a little bit longer and work on something else for myself. And so that happened for about 2 months, and then I got laid off because in the film industry you are project based.
Yes.
And if there's nothing to roll into, they don't have any choice but to send you home, and that's the industry. That goes for model makers to every role, every job that needs to be filled in that industry. If there's nothing for you to roll into, then you go home. Yeah. So I went home. friend of mine had given me a ride home that night, and we were both laid off, and we were sitting at the dining room table, having a cup of coffee. And it's like, so what'd your wife say when you told you were laid off? And we just my wife and I looked at each other, and I'm like, I don't know, what is she going to say right now? Because this is the first time she's hearing about it.
Oh shit!
So that was a story. But a couple weeks later, I was actually brought back on to work on what was supposed to be a very small, very fast job for XM satellite radio. Because of my background with doing the educational models for some science centers, working with real space, they grabbed me up. They're like, we want you to work on this. It's a satellite, we've got this much time to work on it, and can you start tomorrow? I'm like, sure. So it was me and one other person, a machinist. The satellite needed to have some motion to it, so I was the model maker, and then there was the machinist. At the time, we had very little reference to go by. We had a little bit of drawings that a previous visual effects company had done for them that they weren't happy with. They weren't happy with the computer model. They wanted a practical model. So that's why they came to us. I did a lot of research, did a lot of homework. I reached out to whoever I could to get information on this satellite, to get photographs of it, and it was I believe it was built by Boeing, and it was proprietary, so there wasn't a lot of information out there, but there was just enough. We could find just enough photographs on the internet and magazines where we were actually able to build a cohesive model of what the satellite actually looked like. And at one point, one of the model shop supervisors reached out to Boeing to get some specifications on the actual length. They sent us back basically doodles on just a piece of paper that had the length, the width, and the height, and that's what we used basically to complete the satellite. The quick job turned into a project that lasted over 2 months because the client kept wanting changes, wanting this, wanting that. Mm-hmm. I was happy to be involved with it because that was me working.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I was actually the only person working on the project. Other people, they had to pull other people off. And the model shop supervisor in charge of Star Wars Episode 2 kept coming to me, asking me when I was going to be done. Like, we need you on Star Wars. And, hearing those words spoken to you, it's like, again, it's so surreal. It's so emotional.
Yeah.
From growing up as a kid, loving Star Wars, making things out of cardboard, paper mache, just being a fan of it for so long, and then being asked by somebody from who's working on the movie, we need you on. Finish up what you're doing. We need to get you on it. And it's almost, I'm describing it with my words, but it's almost indescribable, the feeling. So XM finally finished up
that night, or what? Because Star Wars.
It was probably another week.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that the room that I was working in, it was I had a 4x8 table that I was working on the satellite, and the rest of the room was taken up with Episode 2 models. And there was about, I don't know, maybe 12 or 14 other people in there, and I was jealous. I'm working on my little thing, and I'm looking at everybody else working on their stuff, and I was jealous. And I found out later that there were actually other folks from that unit that were envious of me because I was working on something by myself. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, when that XM satellite model, that was me that you saw there. That wasn't me and 14 other people.
That's cool.
So when I thought about that, it gave me an appreciation for what I had done.
That's awesome.
And so it was very interesting to hear that.
John?
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, kind of on a more personal note, when you got laid off, did you consider leaving?
Oh yeah.
Or were you going to wait it out, or were you thinking about going back to the East Coast before
we thought about it. Cost of living in California at that point in the early 2000s was astronomical. By Florida standards. So we talked about it. We thought about it because it was a struggle. We basically we kind of gotten down to the last day of having to make a decision when I got put on XM satellite.
Okay.
So it was very fortuitous that I got that phone call. What happened was that I would hang out in the model shop, and I was learning. I had AutoCAD as in high school and college, but I had been away from it for a little while. So I was relearning AutoCAD, and I was learning the laser cutter. I was learning skills that I lacked, and so I was basically in the model shop every day. And as long as I wasn't in anybody's way, they never had any problem with anybody being there working on something for themselves. As long as you weren't in someone's way or using resources that somebody else needed. Okay. So when I got that phone call for XM, the supervisor, he's like, where are you at? And I wound up going home because the laser room had gotten really crowded with everybody's projects. So I'm like, well, there's no room for me. I'm gonna head home. So he says, John, where are you at? And I'm like, I'm home. He's like, you were just in the laser room. I'm like, well, it got full, so I headed home. He's like, well, I got a project for you. That's when you brought up the XM thing. So, okay. So, also my being there every day, trying to learn, trying to better my position, my skills. I think that also helped in me getting that phone call. Okay. So, that was a good lesson learned.
Yeah. So now you're on episode 2.
So now episode 2, man, that's insane.
Yeah, it was. And my very first task was I had to haul the center tower. They had a large detail model of the center tower of the Jedi Temple. They used for close-ups, and this tower was about 8 or 10 feet tall, and I had to move that from one building to another across the street. And the supervisor said, he's like, they need to do some more shots on this. They need to do some enhanced detail on one side. He said, go find Lauren Peterson because he built it, and he'll help you out with it. And I'm like, okay. So I went and found Lauren, told him what was up. He's like, all right, let's go. And so so here I am. Beautiful. I don't remember what time of year it was, but it was a beautiful, beautiful Northern California morning. Not a cloud in the sky. And I'm pulling the center tower of the Jedi Temple on this rickety old cart across the street from one warehouse to another.
Damn. And that's cool.
And yeah, with Lauren Peterson, and I'm like, I don't think it really gets any better than this.
Yeah.
But it did actually. I got after I got that done, I went back to the supervisor, and he's like, well, they just filmed the scene. George wasn't happy with the background, so they want to add some more detail to the model. So you've got an hour. He's like, go do some sketches, come back in an hour. Then you've got a couple hours to build something after we approve it, and they got to get this thing filmed as soon as possible. I'm like, okay. Went to my desk. I just did some sketches, which again, I might still have those sketches, but I'm not positive. But I did 4 or 5 sketches of some different agreeable designs, and brought them to the supervisor, and he kind of flips through them, doesn't say a word, and he says, "You've got these in the order that you like them, don't you?" I said, "Uh-huh." He's like, "Me too." He's like, "Do the top one." So I did that, and so I built some Star Wars-ish greebles. And so they applied them to the existing model, and then they filmed it. That wound up being a cut scene. It's the scene where Obi-Wan is researching the dart, and he's in some type of I don't know, some type of clean room, and there's a wall behind him that's got just some greebles behind him. You barely see him, but that was the part that I did. Ironically, the first 2 or 3 projects they put me on wound up being deleted scenes, and which was, not at the time not good for the old self-esteem when you get put on something like, yeah, they're cutting that, don't worry about that. So in this scene, I built the pedestals that those figures are on, the statue heads.
Oh wow.
Yeah, those are about 6 inches tall, and I built the masters of both of them, and then they cast them up in resin and to make as many as they needed. But those pedestals, they're about 6-7 inches tall. So that whole
really?
Yeah, that whole set's a 1/6 scale set.
What?
That's crazy.
Damn.
Yep.
That
And the table and where Ewan McGregor's sitting, that was pretty much the only thing real in that room.
Wow.
Yeah, that was one of the first things I did that got put in there.
Wow.
So
That's
awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
For me, the cool thing about that part is that they actually came out with a toy years later of I think the character's name is Jocasta New, the librarian. So it was the toy was a little box set. I think Brian's Toys did it. That had a figure and one of the little pedestals with a little head on top of it. So that's yep. So again, going from from being a kid playing with the toys to making something they actually turned into a toy years later.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, and obviously on these, sorry about that. On these other, kind of walk us through what we're seeing.
Okay.
So you also worked on the fin scene?
So that is also that's a 1/6 scale miniature right there. I don't know on the inside what they built as a full size set, but the facade there and the little hallway, that's all 1/6 scale. The floor out front is also 1/6 scale.
Wow.
And so my task on that was building the front facade, all of that.
And
that was a pretty fun job. And
that included the lighting, John, too, like the
it included the light box. I wasn't the one that did the lighting. Actually, on that particular set, Grady Mahara did most of the lighting on that, lighting up all the little signs and the little globes that were used on the walkways and those little things. Now in that scene, the speeder crashes up against a pedestal. And in the earlier shot, which I don't think is on this clip, it's a large statue, and so you see the pedestal there to the right. That's actually a scale model as well. In the movie, there's a holographic image of, I believe it's an ILM artisan image of something where you can see it spinning. It's kind of a little bit of an in joke there, but that pedestal there was also only about 2 feet tall that I had built for that scene, and that was all MDF and putty, laser cut.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize how much. I didn't even know that some of these sets were scaled down set. I mean, everybody thinks that those were all CGI, and there's so much practical in there. That's
the majority of it's practical, and then what they would do is if they overlay any type of digital enhancements to a scene, they'll basically kind of recategorize that as a digital scene. But because in some of those scenes, some of the advertising signs, they've actually got like motion video. We didn't build that in there. We just built it lit, and they went and added the motion video to it.
Yeah,
so they would consider that a digital shot.
I know George was always into the practical effects because he wanted the actors to feel like they were really in the environment. It just let them concentrate as that actor.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. It's so cool.
Yeah, but no, we did a lot of architecture, in episode 2 and episode 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So then you started working on episode 3 as well, right?
I did. There was there was a lag time, between the two movies. I had actually moved back to the East Coast during that time. Unfortunately, 9/11 happened. The film industry just kind of went dormant. It was in our best interest to head back to the East Coast, where I basically restarted my own business again, and so I was the effects company, doing models and miniatures for collectors and whoever needed them. But I was on the call list for ILM. So when they needed model makers, I got a call and they said, "Can you come out?" I said, "Sure." So I did. So for episode 3, I was out there. I was out there from May until end of August. So I put quite a bit of time in on that one, doing miniatures, which is how I earned my the screen credit on that one. That's what that's based on. The screen credit is they don't have the budget to put every person's name on the film, so it goes by seniority of hours worked from what I understand. Wow. So I was lucky enough to put enough hours in to get a credit on that. Yeah. So, but it's one of those things that until you see it rolling on the screen, you might get a phone call saying, "Hey, your name's going to be up there," but until you actually see it on the screen, you don't want to believe it because you don't want to be let down.
So, John, I want to ask you. I always ask this for existing ILMers and ex-ILMers. So, the honor that it was to work with next to people like Lauren Peterson. Were there times where George came into the room? Did you get a chance to say hello to him or meet him anytime on the job?
During work, I always seemed to be in the wrong spot at the wrong time, and he never came through while I was there. Other folks did. Other high-end producers, they'd come through to look at stuff, but where I was at, he very rarely, if he came through, and if he did, again, I was either in another building or on lunch. I'd get back and I'd say, "Hey, George was just here." No. Like, "Oh, okay." And again, this is before texting was really an option. Like, "Okay, George is here. Come back over here." So I was always in the wrong place at the wrong time and stuff like that.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's okay though. Thanks for your honesty. That's awesome.
We did. I did get a chance to meet him at one of the 4th of July picnics.
Nice.
They put a wonderful thing on every year for
I heard.
That's great.
And
about the watches that they give out, and I've done a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
You remember Gabe? You remember that, Gabe?
Yeah. The ILM watch.
Yeah.
So
I had a chance to say hi to him at the party and at the picnic, and introduce my daughter to him, and he was real nice, real sweet, real gracious, and again, just another surreal moment at Skywalker Ranch on July 4th, and there's George Lucas, and there's Hayden Christensen over there, doing the sack race with somebody, and
Hey, John, I just got to tell you. So everybody that watches our channel knows my history of Lucasfilm and leaving in handcuffs. I don't know if you know the story behind that.
Okay. That story.
So anyway, so I end up getting arrested for trespassing at Skywalker Ranch. Because I was trying to get employed with the model shop. So I tried to pull off this thing, and it didn't work out. So I ended up leaving in handcuffs. So I never got the opportunity to meet George, and or anybody else. But what I was going to tell you is I'll never forget when I was at Celebration. I was talking to Andy Gutierrez that does the Star Wars show. We've been friends for a little while, and as we were talking, she didn't even know, but they started scrambling out on the stage. She was on the bottom of the stage talking to me, and all of a sudden she's like, "I gotta go." So all of a sudden, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce Mr. George Lucas, and he walked out, and it was before, so they weren't live, so there wasn't a crowd around the stage. So when he came out, and then they're like, Harrison Ford, which I could care less. I didn't even care. I was like,
yeah, right.
I could care. I mean, all I could just see is George, and it's like, it's me, your son. No, and the fact it's like, I didn't mean to, piss you off and get arrested, but it just, I can't tell you that feeling of just seeing such a powerful source of what he's done for the world of film, and I know it takes people like you, John, to make all this magic come to life. but to just see the father of the Godfather, it was just a surreal moment that I would just wish I could meet him and say hello to him and thank him,
Yeah.
So, but damn. But I assure you, John, they dropped the charges. They didn't drop it tonight, so I was in the
if they
jail.
didn't drop the charges, they'd have to build a whole new jail just for folks that violate the property lines on Skywalker Ranch.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
Is there actually a little jail in that's
No.
I was gonna say.
If they
See what
cross,
you did,
they
Michael.
would need one because there's that many people probably.
Oh yeah, the ranch foreman of Skywalker Ranch. The next day, because I went back after I was arrested because I needed to let him know that
That's good.
I wanted him to know that I'm not crazy. You know what I'm saying? So I went back again the next day. So, anyways, he was really nice to me. I started bawling in front of him. I was 20 years old, and I just told him, "Look, I'm not crazy. I just wanted to, see about getting a job here." And he's like, "Well, there's better ways to go about it than just jumping the fence." And
Jump on the fence.
But I tried to go in through the gate, but they wouldn't let me in. So, what would you do? No, I'm just kidding. But but he did tell me that, there were crazed people that had, threatened his life and all kinds of whack jobs out there.
Ironically, my wife, she got a job at Skywalker Ranch while I was at ILM, and so she's working in the food services.
Oh, cool.
She's working in the dining room of the main house and of the they have a gym building there also, but she met him almost right away when she started working there, and so again another surreal moment. We go from small town East Coast to me working at ILM and my wife working at Skywalker Ranch, and it was pretty cool time, and she met him first, and she thought nothing but the nicest things about him, and it was just a real unique experience for us.
Yeah.
So John, I was going to ask because I know you did a lot of work on architectural stuff, both before ILM and at ILM. For Star Wars, did you work on any of the ships? Since that's obviously a big interest.
No, most of the ship work was either done by higher ups on the model maker food chain, or was done prior to my getting there.
Okay.
But yeah, so no, I was not fortunate enough to be able to work on the ships.
Was Steve Golly in the model shop when you were around at all?
Oh yeah, Steve was in the model shop. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a super cool dude.
I've got a trading card that's got Steve on it, and I'll never forget. I could probably sketch the card in my mind right now, and also just know the fact that I never actually worked with him on any project, but but we worked in the same building on the same thing, so it was pretty cool.
Have you talked to him lately at all, John?
No.
Yeah, he's been on the. Last time I talked to him was last year, and we kept in touch quite a bit. And he's just off the radar now. Doesn't even return texts or anything. I hope his health's okay.
Yeah. So hey, John. So then you worked on episode 3, right? Because I have some, and I'm gonna show. Oops. What did you work on this?
So in this scene, okay,
I saw the big model just now.
Right. So the crew that I was on, we built, I don't know, I'm gonna say between 15 and 20 buildings for the Utapau scene. I believe it was more or less 1/72nd, maybe 1/48 scale. We were under the gun time wise. They had a lot more stuff for us to build. We just ran out of time. The supervisor at the time knew that, and he knew that we weren't going to have enough time to make everything that they needed. So everybody that was on the crew, we were all assigned a building to build. We all got the artwork. We all got kind of walked through the building that we were working on. And my particular building, I would describe it as kind of like a double-decker chicken bucket. It was just 2 round truncated cones on top of each other, that had, bone-like structure, all the way around it. And that was what my artwork had on it. So the person in charge of the actual scene, he goes to each one of us, with what the specific needs are, and he tells me, he says, John, we need more real estate in this scene. So I want you to take your model and just make it bigger. I'm like, okay. So I took the basic concept, which kind of reminded me of the United States Capitol, with the central building, and had the left wing and the right wing on the building. So I took that concept and I basically just stretched the building out, which is, so there's a still there that shows me kind of bent over a building, and that was the building that I came up with. So we all had our artwork pinned up above our desk of kind of as a guide work of what we're supposed to be doing, and my desk was kind of like near a high traffic area, and so people, so that's my piece. So people would come by, they'd look at my work and they go, oh, that's nice. They'd look at my artwork and they'd go, oh, okay, and they'd kind of walk away, and I'm like, what's that all about? It turns out that nobody else knew that I was supposed to be building something a little different than my artwork, because they're all like, why does John's work not look like the artwork? And it turns out because they weren't read in on the details that I was read in on. So which was funny, when they realized that I was told to just make it bigger. Again, it was one of those moments where they're like, oh, it means you get to be creative. I'm like, yeah. Like, oh, I gotta follow the thing here.
Yeah.
So,
very talented, John. That's beautiful work, man. Great workmanship.
Gorgeous.
I appreciate that. Again, a lot of it took a lot of people to get that there, though.
Yeah.
The original artist, I believe, was on that piece, I believe, was Ryan Church, and those, just being able to be involved with that was just so much fun. Now this scene here, this was the I think it's referred to as the Jedi embarkation platform. It's where all the Star Destroyers launched from.
Yeah.
So there's that long building there that a lot of us worked on, just kind of detailing it. The actual model itself was about 30 feet long and about 6 feet tall. The part that I focused on was there's a gantry that bridges all the buildings together, and I worked on that with John Berg. Oh, and John did the mechanics. There's two cranes that kind of move back and forth, in the shot, that are basically kind of motorized. And they just kind of moved back and forth. So it was my job to do basically the architectural skin and kind of give it that Star Wars look of the greebles and the paneling and the plating and just that look of what it's supposed to, just have that in-universe feel to it. And so that's the part that I worked on. That piece is also actually it's in the Utapau scene, in a background. It's upside down, with I think might have something placed on top of it. But again, they needed real estate just to fill that scene up in the background. So they used at that point whatever they could get their hands on. So,
what's so fascinating is the scale. Is like you had mentioned, the 6 scale or 1/48 scale. Or it's crazy. I guess the lead modelers determine, depending on the shots, the type of scale that they're going to build or how big it's going to be.
They've got formulas that they use, that I believe it's more coordinated with, like, the director of photography.
Okay.
And the needs of the shot.
That's so cool, man. That's so
that they in order to determine the scale on something, because we may wind up building in the case of the Star Destroyer embarkation platform. I believe the original plan was we were supposed to build that large scale one that you see there in the shot. Then we were supposed to build one that was actually much larger for close-ups. But we did such a good job with the one that we built that they were able to actually use that one for their close-ups. So, that always works out really well. So, but the building that I built, it was able to be reconfigured in multiple different forms. the top could come off. You could put different tops on it. It had different entryways and stuff like that, so they could just kind of redress it to make it look like a little bit like a different building. But if you watch that scene real close and you kind of pick out a theme, you'll kind of see that same building kind of going back, like you're watching an old episode of the Flintstones, where they're going through town and you just see that same house go by after time and time again. Same thing in that shot.
Yeah,
that's interesting because there's so much going on visually with these scenes that
especially in these movies.
Yeah, you don't notice it.
Yeah,
that there's repetition.
Yep. Yeah.
And then what about this scene, John? Let me bring that up. This is the
you can see the gantry there in the background between the Star Destroyers, and right as that scene starts, you can see the crane moving behind it.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Hayden's head.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was that was part of the and that little piece was really cool to make. Well, I say little piece. It was about 6 feet from end to end, but basically it was kind of like it was very in my mind. I was thinking just imperial architecture, just that with the openings that has the truncated corners, using all sorts of battleship parts to greeble it. The top of those pieces actually have open landing bays. We weren't told at the time exactly how they were going to use the piece, so we had to detail every bit of it.
How did it move the crane?
John Berg had built a basically like a pulley system on the inside. That there was some aluminum structure on the inside that housed a motor and a belt, and there was just a long channel that ran along the bottom of it that had basically just a piece of metal sticking out of it that would just with stepper motors you could control the speed. So he built that aspect of it, and then I built the part that basically you just kind of attached to the bottom of that moving piece of metal, so they could just move it back and forth all day automatically.
So were you a total pain in the ass when you're sitting in the movie theater watching these for the first time and all the audience members around you and you're like, I did that. Hey, I did that. That's fine. No, hang on. That I did that too.
Yeah. No, I really wasn't. Now we did have a kind of like a premiere party type of thing where I think I brought a few of my closest friends.
For
sure.
We
all sat together and watched it.
That's so cool, man. Congratulations.
Really, at the end, the part of for me, the most exciting part was the end, seeing my name up there.
Yeah.
Because again, until you actually see it up there, it doesn't exist.
Well, you earned the right to have that name up there, bro. Yeah. You did a fantastic job.
I appreciate that.
So cool.
I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, John, how long were you there then after Star Wars Episode 3? Did you continue to work on other projects? Did you?
Well, after Episode 3 wrapped up, it was kind of quiet. So I was out there for a few months. I believe this was like 2004. This was when the East Coast and the Gulf was getting hammered with hurricanes. I needed to get back to my family because they were experiencing power outages for days. And I remember going to my supervisor, telling him it's like, I gotta go. And he probably had another month or at least another month of work for me. But I'm like, I gotta get back to my family. My wife was pregnant, and I'm like, as much as I want to stay, I gotta go. And it's pretty difficult. And they understood. They're like, okay, we understand that. He's like, do what you got to do. So I went home, and that was 2004. I always would keep in touch with everybody out there. Project wise. And again, at the time, I was running my own business as a freelancer, providing models for anybody who needed them. And then I got a call for Indiana Jones, and I remember getting the call, and they're like, we need you bad. We need you here tomorrow. And I'm like, well, I'm on the East Coast. It's going to take me a couple of days. So I'm like, well, let me get back to you later on today. And I remember again having to make that decision because we had just opened up a new building and we had just got a new contract with a new client. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's like there was a moment where I almost wished I didn't get the phone call. I almost wished I didn't have to face that decision. So I talked about it and I thought to myself, okay, so uprooting ourselves for a couple of months is going to be annoying, but for a good cause. And I thought, I also don't want to be the person who, when the movie comes out, has that regret that I could have worked on that and I didn't. Oh well. So I'm like, let's just do it. So we packed up the truck and took 3 months worth of whatever with us, and rented a little place out there. And while I worked on Indiana Jones, when I got there, I was told the person who was going to be in charge of our project has other obligations. And they said, "Can you do it?" And I'm like, okay. If you believe that I can do this, then I can do this, which was kind of weird because I felt like I was stepping into a giant role, one that I wasn't really sure why there wasn't somebody else that could take that role instead of me. So huge compliment, obviously. So my crew, we were in charge of building about 30 plus 1/6 scale cars there. For 2 separate scenes. Well, that same scene, but they had to shoot it twice. So we had to build like 16 to 18 cars for each scene. We built about 4 or 5 different car models of specific cars that we were told to build. One of the things about model building that I've always really enjoyed was getting to learn about what it is that I'm making. And so this was 2006, 2007. Internet had gotten a lot better. there was the internet at that point. So it was a lot easier to do research. So I think that the burgundy car there in front of me in that photograph, I believe that's a Pontiac Chieftain. I don't know the year, but I believe it's a Pontiac Chieftain. So I did the research on a Chieftain. And I researched what color were those cars painted that year, because to me that's important, because I knew that there'd be somebody sitting in that audience looking at those cars going, well, everybody knows the Pontiac Chieftain wasn't painted that color that year. A fraud, so it was important to me to make sure that we could be as accurate as possible. So doing the research on the vehicles, and then coming across the old sales flyers from that era was just it was a lot of fun to do. That was pretty neat, and I had a great crew that we were all working together.
Were they all scratch built, John? Those cars, or what was the technology like to create?
They were basically foam carved and then vacuum formed.
Wow.
And we took a couple of parts off a Barbie car. I think some tires. Every now and then we take some tires and we make castings of the tires. But everything there on that car, like if you look at the front bumper of I believe that's a Bel Air. It could be wrong. It's been 20 years, but I believe it's a Bel Air. That's basically carved MDF that we would basically kind of like laser cut like a basic frame block, and then just start sanding and carving and dremeling and smoothing and just to get that there, because at the time I believe that 3D printing was there, but it was so incredibly expensive. You could hire 3 model makers to carve you a bumper for the same cost of what it would for one 3D print of the same thing, for one 3D print of it, and that's it. So
that little glass, the glass windshields and stuff, that's badass.
Yep, that's vacuum formed. Man. And I remember, all the cars had windscreens put in them, and after they did one of the shoots where they blew the debris across and they basically destroyed the town, remember one of the one of the cars had a piece of balsa wood go right through the windscreen, and that's that high impact plastic, and for a piece of balsa to penetrate that, it was like, wow, that's amazing. So that was a pretty fun shoot. That was actually one of the only things I worked on where I was actually there at the same time when they actually did the filming. So we were all there the day that they shot that, and we got to see it. So here we spend, I don't know, we spent 2 months making all these cars. We go to I believe they did the shot on a Saturday, and so we show up that morning on the set to watch the scene, and so all our work in a matter of seconds is just destroyed and blown across the set, and we were as happy as we could be because
John,
amazing.
I asked Steve, sorry to cut you off. I asked Steve Golly one time, and I was thinking about this, seeing all the detail work that you and your team did. What's it like to build these beautiful little detailed deals? And I remember Steve, he was like, dude, don't even go there. But what was it like to see all your stuff just get completely blown up?
Honestly, it was great because it served its purpose, and it looked really good.
It looked real. It looked so real. Like
a lot of the cars, we lined the inside of them with very, very thin sheets of lead, and so we cut a sheet of lead kind of in the shape of the door, and we'd adhere it to where the door panel was at. So if the cars broke apart, they would kind of break apart in their normal break apart spots.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it because everything happens the way it was supposed to. For me, there was no like emotional loss watching it all be destroyed because it happened the way it's supposed to happen. And that's what we were hired to do. And it would have been more disappointing had it not worked out right. Had the cars simply just in a whole piece just kind of like flopped over. It's like, oh, all that work for just that.
Were you around when they blew it up, or
yeah, we were there. Yeah, we were there the day on set.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
That's such a cool scene too.
Yeah. It was fun. It really was, and it was pretty cool.
And did you get to meet like some of the actors like as they were there, or no? You were just doing
no, because we were second unit by the time that we were doing the work. That all the principal photography had been done, and it's rare. It was rare for me on second unit to be near any of the talent.
Yeah.
For episode 3, there was a day where they had Wookiees on stage that they were filming. And so I did get to see the Chewbacca and Tarful, I believe they were there taking pictures with everybody. So there was that day, but usually the actors are onto something else by the time we're doing what we do.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah,
that's crazy. So Star Wars and Indiana Jones now. Now, were you a Indiana Jones fan? Obviously,
from the original. Yeah. I remember seeing the trailer for Raiders of the Lost Ark, thinking it was a horror movie. The way that they cut that trailer with the melting and the lights and the Nazis all getting electrocuted and stuff. I'm like, what is this? This is such an amazing movie. And it was just, the movie was just a lot of fun to work on. So in that scene right there, I'm pretty sure that all those are 1/6 scale miniatures. And what they did is when they filmed after they filmed the first shot where they blew everything up, they took all the debris and they filled the houses with all the debris from the first shot. So when they filmed the second shot, there was twice as much debris that came across the landscape. It made it pretty impressive. So yeah,
that's so cool.
It was fun.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I find it interesting, given, everything that you went through to get to ILM, and having, did it ever occur to you, like, how did I go from, I can't believe I'm going to work for ILM to, I wish I didn't get a call from ILM?
I never actually thought about that. That's actually the first time I've thought about it in those terms. Well, what it comes down to, I think, is for me in that sense is it's got to do with family.
Yeah.
It's like, because the uprooting is never easy. And so we had to go through that a couple times. When we went out there the first time for episode 2, and then when I went out there by myself for episode 3, and then there was actually one point in the middle of all that where I had gotten called out to work on the Matrix films.
Oh, wow.
They were filming those. They were filming 2 and 3 in the Bay Area, so I got called out to work on that, not through ILM, but through the union.
Yeah.
So I actually drove out there with a buddy of mine. He was going to fly back, so I drove out there with a buddy of mine, and we got to San Francisco, and they'd shut production down for an indeterminate period of time. And they're like, "You're welcome to hang out for a couple of weeks," and I'm like, "No, I'm just going to go home."
Yeah.
So like it was July 4th weekend, I remember, because we saw the fireworks up in San Rafael, and then we turned around and we drove back across country to go back home, and that's just the way it happens. That one of the phrases that's used is, "It doesn't happen until it happens."
Yeah.
So until you're actually on that set and you filled out your paperwork and you're on the clock, it doesn't happen.
So you almost worked on the Matrix movies, but ended
almost
up
worked on the Matrix movies. I almost did, yeah. And and had I been living out there, I'd have been brought in sooner,
Right.
and worked on it. But but things were going good on the East Coast. I was building my business, building my client base, and enjoying that. The big difference between working for a large organization like ILM and working for yourself is the risk is still the same. You're still working project to project, but when you're working for yourself with your own company, you know more about what's coming up, and you have the opportunity to navigate the ups and downs easier. When you're working for a larger company and things are starting to taper off, you come to work every day and you wonder, am I going to get that tap on the shoulder today? Am I going to get told? Because depending on the needs, they might send somebody home early who wasn't done with their thing if they needed to put somebody else on their thing. So it would get to the point where you just didn't know from day to day if you were going to be working, and that's stressful. Yeah. And that's just the nature of the business. But again, when you're working by yourself, when you're working for yourself, again, the same dangers are there, but you wake up in the morning, you know where you stand for that day. You know that what you have to do in order to keep your perpetual motion machine of your business moving. You know how much work you've got to look for, how much you've got to bring in order to keep everything rolling, and that is simply based on your motivation, your drive, your enthusiasm, and not everybody's cut out for that. It can be real difficult on people. Some people are more suited for being employed, where other people are more suited for employing themselves. Yeah. And I found that I fit more into being employed by myself, because I find, looking back, that I've been afforded the same benefits as being as when I was working for somebody else. Mm-hmm. When Indiana Jones was wrapping up, this was when the 2009 Star Trek movie was in early production stages, and I was asked, that at the time, this was Kerner Optical. ILM had moved down to the Presidio. They had basically they were no longer a full official model shop. It kind of branched off as Kerner Optical. Kerner Optical was actually the model company for Indiana Jones. something like that. But as I was leaving, the supervisor asked me if they got the Star Trek gig, would I be interested in coming back? And the way he put it, making ships on sticks. And I'm like, heck yeah. I would definitely come back to make ships on sticks.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, we're working on it. I'll let you know. So I don't know what all happened with that, as far as, obviously they didn't make a practical model of the 2009 Enterprise version. But what I do know happened is that the company that I was associated with at the time was working with Star Trek. And so we got an opportunity to actually work with Star Trek. And yeah, so this is Star Trek Into Darkness, obviously this is the second one. And what we did is we built all the models on the credenza in Admiral Marcus's office. So all those models that he's walking past there, referred to as the history of flight. Myself and my crew, we built all of those.
That's cool.
And I remember getting the phone call about the Vengeance there, and and basically because my team had built a series of artisan ships for this company, Enterprise, Reliant. I'm sure I'm going to forget some of them, because we knew starships, we knew the artistic skill and balance of making the miniatures. They called us up. They wanted to know if we'd be interested in doing the Vengeance. And at the time, this was like a need to know thing where only 3 or 4 people knew about the ship, and it had a code name and all that. And they said, so we need the ship. We need it pretty quick, and we don't have a whole lot of information for you to give to you. All we can tell you is that the ship is black. It's a stealth ship. And I'm like, okay, cool. So they gave us the digital files. We created the practical model, and then we did all of the all the holographics, all the Aztecing. We just based on the fact that we know what how a ship is supposed to be built, how it's supposed to be decorated. We did all that ourselves, and they're like, okay, that looks great. We'll take it.
Yeah.
And it really was. Yeah, there was a lot more conversation there, but it really was that simple.
Mm-hmm.
That we were given that creative freedom was amazing and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That we were afforded that. And as long as we kept them up to date on everything, they were very happy with what we came up with. And so we would forward them information. They would, that sounds great, that looks good, just keep doing what you're doing. And so we created all those models, and they were a lot of fun to do. We got to play with canon, I guess, by introducing the NX-01 and next to the Kelvin and all that. So yeah.
John, when they do that, so they basically will give you like a digital file, like back in the day, a McQuarrie drawing, a rendering or something, and then you guys made the practical model off of a digital drawing, basically. Is that how that works?
It's kind of a yes and no. In the case of the Vengeance, they had a digital model. Okay. So we took that digital model, we turned it into a printable, watertight file to be able to print the model. And that was we'd been working with 3D printed models for a few years at that point.
Yeah.
But at this point we were basically doing it in house.
Gotcha.
One of the few we tried to look for off the shelf models if we could. One of the few models we couldn't find a model of, I believe, was the Gemini. I believe it's the Gemini 7 capsule. So we couldn't find a practical model of that. So we actually built those. This was our first 3D model that we built from scratch. Was the Gemini capsule. Some of them there we scratch built. The NX-01 was actually the I can't think of the name of the company that made the small, highly detailed electronic Star Trek ships. But they retailed for about, I don't know, $30 or $40. That's actually one of those that we just did a high detail paint job on.
Oh, the Diamond Select.
Diamond Select, yeah. So that's what the now, and then other things like the Kelvin and the NX Alpha, we created 3D models for those to print those. The Wright Flyer, I believe, is an off-the-shelf kit. The Bell X1, X15, the Bell X15 is an off-the-shelf kit. The Ares is actually kind of a scratch built, based off of AMT kits that were on the shelf at the time, and I actually had to cannibalize. There's the Ares. I had to cannibalize the Ares out of some models I actually had in my office because we ran out of parts. I'm like, we need to make the Ares taller. So yeah, and then the space shuttle there. That's actually the Tamiya 1/100 scale space shuttle there. So
Don't tell anybody, John, but I just watched Star Trek the other night, and I love that big black ship. That thing is just so menacing and over the Enterprise. I know Joseph right now is like, "What? You watched that?" But
yeah, I know. I'm in shock, Mike.
We have a little rivalry, John, that you don't know about.
It is. I would love to do that ship with a standard Starfleet paint job.
Yeah.
I think I would love to see it like that as opposed to the stealth version, because part of me thinks that out there somewhere in that universe is a non-stealth version of that ship, and it would be I would love to create that,
Jeez.
So John, they had you make a practical model of the Vengeance.
Yes.
But there was still no practical model for the Enterprise.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Which was interesting. So,
but you created a practical model of that.
We did. Well, they back for the 2009 movie, they did they had a promotional art experience where they created about 30 3-foot long models that they sent out to various people, local artists in LA, some famous artists, and they basically kind of did they did whatever art they wanted to do on the Enterprise model. So
I remember that.
The deal is that we would do this, we would provide these models if we got to do a model as well. And our model would be a screen accurate model and the only screen accurate model of this group. So I believe Robert Rodriguez did one, and his is just beautiful. James Franco did one. I believe he shot arrows through his or something. There's one out there that looks like a UPS truck.
Yeah, and I remember they did one.
Yeah, they went on tour. Just kind of do like viral awareness for the movie. So we took the opportunity to do the screen accurate one to basically promote it and to be able to create a sellable collectible that fans could then purchase, and that was our connection with the ship on stick of the Enterprise. So so although the big model shop wasn't able to make the Enterprise, myself and my crew, we were able to make, to my knowledge, the largest practical model of that specific Enterprise that's out there. So,
and that's the one that I have.
Yes, that was one that you purchased through the company.
Yeah.
So guide us a little bit with these pictures. What are so?
Okay, so that right there, that is a model of the Enterprise D bridge we did for a company for promotion. It was supposed to be for San Diego Comic-Con for 12-inch Star Trek figures. It got lost in shipping to Comic-Con, so it never made its way to its destination. So that's one of those things where we put a lot of time into it, and we made this, in my opinion, this beautiful model that never got to serve its purpose.
No.
Because it got lost in shipping, and who knows where it wound up at.
Damn.
But,
that didn't get lost. That's some Star Trek fan FedEx employee that got that.
Perhaps. But we had a lot of fun making that, and that's all. That's all basically created from scratch, just off of drawings and whatever we could get our hands on. Laser cut, acrylic, MDF, combined with. We designed the furniture in 3D and then 3D printed them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Looks great.
So,
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And then this one, and I apologize because I'm not a
That's okay. That's okay.
Star Wars. I mean, you know.
This is an Excelsior, the NX2000. This was what I would refer to as kind of my white whale. This is the ship that I always wanted. This was one of the first Star Trek model kits that I built. I think I built this before I even built like the original series Enterprise model kit for myself.
Oh wow!
And so I built the AMT one, a little tiny 18-inch thing, and I wanted to go back and revisit it. So what I did is I created this one in 350 scale, and so I was able to kind of get that. I had to make it. I had to overcome it and create it, and I had such a blast doing it. And yeah, so she's about 53 inches long. And
that's beautiful.
Yeah, and I had a lot of fun making her, painting her. It's one of those things for me that, you know, I remember painting the first one, and you know, using whatever paint guide came with it, and you know, so it looked the way it looked. And I remember before I painted this one, being a little nervous about, you know, picking the colors. But then it occurred to me that in my mind, for the most part, these are the same colors that are on the Enterprise, because they were created roughly in universe around the same time. They'd be using, for the most part, the same materials, the same paints. So to me, if something looked like, we have a color that we refer to as Enterprise Blue. It's a color that we basically in the shop decided that a lot of the blue highlights that are on the Enterprise we refer to as Enterprise Blue. So we kind of created we made a big gallon of it, and it's just a custom color that we came up with based off of testers' paints.
Looks great.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, if in the photographs that we have as reference, if it looks like Enterprise Blue, it probably is, because in the model shop, when you know, one of the things that I don't know if it's a misconception or what is about paint colors. And often, you know, what I say to myself, I have to remind myself, is that if a color looks like a color that you think it is, it probably is that color. So because the model shop we used testers paints, we used I'm drawing a blank now at the other railroad colors that we used to use that they discontinued before they discontinued the testers oil base.
Floquil.
Floquil. We used a lot of Floquil colors. If something looked like Union Pacific yellow, it was Union Pacific yellow. So like the RCS thrusters on the ship, that's the color that they were, more than likely, because that was the color that was used in the shop. Very rarely.
Those were the paints ILM was using at the time, right? The Floquils.
Yeah, because it was a good airbrushable paint that was easy to get your hands on. And that's when you're making a model for film, that's really what it comes down to. Is it comes down to time and budget and availability. So, you know, if you were told the ship needs to be gray, you were like, okay, and you looked to see how much gray you had and what gray it was, and you're like, well, that's the gray I'm going to use because I need a gallon and I have a gallon. So very rarely was there any type of overt act to make like a secret color of something. You know, if it looks like medium gray, it's probably medium gray. If it looks like Air Force blue or medium blue, it probably is medium blue, because that was the color that we had access to.
But that being said, I know it can be hard sometimes when you're watching these things on screen.
Oh, it definitely is. It definitely is.
You know, because I mean, that's how you and I, you know, became friends, right?
Because of your very specific request.
Yeah,
that's a picture there from Star Trek Picard.
Yeah,
season 1. I believe that's episode 1. He's in his archive room. So we were tasked with building 4 ships that you see there for that scene. So we built the Stargazer, we built the captain's yacht, which was really cool because that was the first time that we ever built anything like that. We didn't, a captain's yacht that was I think she wants to be about 18 inches long.
Right.
And so we got to basically, build a big captain's yacht and make it look like what it's supposed to look like. So that was a lot of fun. So we did the captain's yacht. We did, and another picture shows the Enterprise D, and you can kind of see in the shot. So you can see the Enterprise D there on the wall, and then right below the D, that is the Enterprise E. That's also just on a pedestal. So they tasked us to build those.
Wow.
For the shot, which was a super huge honor, and then they sent those on tour around Comic-Con and to different Star Trek events where they did,
Yeah.
That's a sweet base. Damn.
I remember, John. I remember going to San Diego Comic-Con and seeing those at the Picard Museum and telling you, "Hey, did you see those?" And you were like, "I made those."
I did, yeah. And that was a lot.
I think I saw them too.
Yeah.
That was so much fun.
Yeah.
So then let's.
Yeah. So that picture that's LeVar Burton, right?
Yes, it is. So we're at a show. I believe this is 2012, where we had done this specific Enterprise D for a company. And so we'd go to the show and we'd hang up on the models to talk them up and to sell people, on them and stuff like that. I believe that retailed for $10,000. It's all handmade. She's about 30 inches long, made out of epoxy fiberglass. So LeVar Burton comes up and everybody kind of gets a little scared. But I'm like, here's my chance to talk to the engineer of the Enterprise about my engineering of the Enterprise. So I had a good time. I ate it up. It was a lot of fun. He was gracious. He was polite. He was inquisitive. He made eye contact with you when he spoke to you, and that's a rarity in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was great to be in that environment. So. And again, this is one of those things where, again, for as long as I've been doing this, it's always a wild ride. There may be days, weeks, or months where, you spend your time just building, just making, planning, and then there's moments where, talking to LeVar Burton about a ship that I built.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
so just the attention to detail on the base alone is just freaking cool.
It was and other than having to make the ship look like the ship's supposed to look, they give us a lot of creative freedom as far as everything else. So the thought with that base was we wanted it to kind of look like the engineering table in engineering. They refer to this as the pool table. So it kind of had that look to it.
Yeah, Michael.
Yes, sir.
So one of the things that we've talked about in the past is how to display models like this.
Yes.
And you asked me why I don't kind of pursue what you did, which is using Panavice mounts to mount things to the wall.
Right.
And the reason is because most of the ships that I have from John have these incredibly beautiful bases with them. I'm not willing to, and I mean, that's part of the art, right?
Yeah,
so it's now you can see how beautiful it is to have something like that on display with a beautiful base like that.
Is that etching around there, or is that a decal around there? The little
it's a combination of laser cut MDF that's textured, and we also used laser cut vinyl striping.
Okay.
So we basically when we were doing those bases, we basically have the thought in mind of making a set piece and how they make the consoles on set.
Do you have this model, Joseph?
I do.
Yeah,
I do, and I have the base, and it has a mirrored acrylic underneath, so you can see the entire bottom of the ship. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Well, that gives me a lot of. So John, I'm building right now. It's about 1,500 total square foot studio gallery. That's just going to be studio models only in there, and because what I have here on the wall, it's not the proper lighting. It's just in all the details that goes into you guys building these beautiful models. I want to make sure like on a lot of them, like we're going to do like the whole red squadron, of all of the different X-wings, red 1, red leader, and then red 2 and all that. But I think that these bottoms would be awesome on the top of the pillars of all of the pedestals that I'm going to do around in that room.
There's a lot of opportunity in so many. I mean, it's like when you go to Target to buy an iron, they got 30 irons. Which iron do I get? You have to narrow it down. It's the same thing with this when it comes to creativity of what you want. There's so many options for you. It's almost impossible to narrow something down. But there's we've done some where the base under there was backlit. So with a star field and things like that. So we try to make sure that the base doesn't outshine whatever model is sitting on top of it. So,
jeez.
Look at this.
So that's from the Orville, which I don't know, Michael, Gabe, if you guys have seen that show. That's Seth MacFarlane's show.
Yeah, right.
But this is the one, John, I don't know how much I can say about, but this was what I approached you about.
A long time ago.
Because I had seen this in the show. I fell in love with the design of the ship.
Beautiful.
And I found out that there was actually a practical model built that they used for filming. And I approached John and I was like, can we make this? I want it to be about 3 feet long, and can we do it? And in his brilliance, he designed it from the ground up, 3D designed, did all the electronics. It's just beautiful. I'm over the moon with the one that I got. It's just beautiful.
It's a beautiful
cool, Joseph. Congrats, buddy.
Thank you. Yeah, I absolutely love the designs of these. And actually, I was going to ask you, John, that's kind of one of the questions. Star Trek ships, and I would put the Orville, this ship, kind of in the same boat with the other Star Trek ships. As opposed to Star Wars ships, the Star Trek designs are very clean, right? And so as a result, they're kind of like right on the showroom floor. And they seem less forgiving. With the Star Wars ship, if something doesn't look perfect, you can just dirty it up. Right? Weather it. But with the Star Trek ships, they're so clean, there's very little room for error. Has that been your experience?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. That's very true. Now, in the case of like the Orville here, we actually, she kind of gets a little weathered up, just a little bit. There's always a little bit of weathering that should go into the ships, just because you've got to give it that sense of scale,
right?
And you've got to make sure that it doesn't look like a toy, and so you've got to watch your shine, you've got to watch your glossy, because those types of things will break the scale. It'll make it look like a toy. That's why you could take a toy, a well-painted toy, and with just a little bit of effort, you can make it look like a filming miniature. It's much more difficult, I think, to take a filming miniature and make that look like a toy without a full paint on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Now this one right here.
Serenity.
That's
from Firefly, Gabe. Have you ever seen that?
I have not, but I've definitely seen the ship. The ship is.
That's a great show.
So that was one of our first artisan pieces we were contracted to do. That's about an 18-inch long model with a full lighting system in it. That's from the movie Serenity. Now in this shot, this was my first Comic-Con that I went to. This was back in 2009, and so the company had a great relationship with the folks over there at Firefly. So after Nathan Fillion was done talking to the fans, he came down to the showroom floor, and so we got a chance to meet him. And there's a shot there. That's me handing him the model.
Wow.
And then there's a middle shot there where he actually kisses the model and hands it back to me. So actually, that's him handing it back to me. You can see the kind of like the little smile I got on my face, like, wow, this is kind of cool. So
that is cool.
Yeah. So he wound up providing the company with autographed plaques that they offered with each of the Serenities that we built and sold.
Yeah.
And, Gabe, that's his ship. Just since you haven't seen the show, or for the viewers that haven't seen the show, it's his ship in the show.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Man, that's so cool. And so John, besides obviously the ships and the models, I mean, I'm blown away. Everybody that watches this show knows that I'm a huge Disney fan. Right? We're at Disneyland every week or every other week.
Every day.
Every day.
I mean, we have the season passes, so me and my family are always going. And you worked on some of the stuff, right, at Galaxy's Edge?
We were my crew and I were hired on to build droids, to build, paint, and assemble the droids there. So those came into us as basically raw parts. And it was our job to put them together and to paint them and to get them to their destinations. Working with Disney was really cool. It was a real neat learning experience.
Yeah.
They have their specifics. They have a very specific guideline that they follow. And so once we learned how to operate within that, it was pretty cool. They initially, our task was simply to build and paint them, and just leave basically the factory paint on it. We did a sample where we weathered one up for them, and they loved it. And the artwork that they gave us was, for the most part, was specific colors, but they were very vague on the details. So so that R5 unit there, they told us what colors it was supposed to be painted, but they didn't tell us like exactly what to paint, because they didn't get into the nuances. So so in my conversations I said, well, can we paint these to the level that they need to be painted in order for them to look like droids from Star Wars? And they're like, yeah, go ahead. So we did. So we put the additional love and effort into making them look like they're supposed to look. From if it's just painting like a little coupler down the bottom, just putting a little bit of highlight on that, to making sure that the braided hoses were aged or colored just the way that they were supposed to. So we provided all the full size astromech droids. The R2s, the R3s, and the R4s we provided.
Not astromech, but astromech.
What's that?
You said it correct. Astromech.
Yes. So we didn't do the BBs or the Gonk droids or anything else. Just the astromechs. Okay. So we also provided all the parts for the astromechs. Roughly, when you add up all the full size droids and all the parts for the full size droids, we want to putting together about 100 droids all in total between the two parks.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Did you work on the ones for the Coca-Cola stands as well?
We did. When we provided those, they were not in. All we did is we provided them at primer stage. We didn't actually do the painting on those. I would have loved to have painted a Coca-Cola droid.
Yeah.
We provided them the droid, and then they took it to, because there was a lot more mechanics that had to go inside of it that wasn't in the scope of our direction. Yeah. We also provided the I forget what they call it, but it's like the barbecue droid.
Oh yeah.
That they use as a cooker. We provided that as well.
Yeah.
And so like all the heads that are kind of like strewn about, we provided those. There are a few body parts that we did not provide that I guess they might have got from Star Tours. That they kind of tossed in there. So there are a few astromech pieces that we had nothing to do with. Like, I'm not, somebody out there watching this, I don't want them to think that I don't want to take credit for their work.
Yeah.
But the primaries for Galaxy's Edge we did.
Yeah.
So,
Now, John, did you guys also work like the mechanics? I know on the other.
We did the installations of the electronics, but the ones that actually had the motion. So we installed the electronics, but the motion was actually provided by somebody else.
No.
Yeah.
That's just so cool to me. Yeah, because I mean, I built. Oh, there goes my camera. So I built my R2. I know I'm frozen right now, but it'll come back. Oh, here we go. Yeah, you had to move it. So I as part of the R2 Builders Club, it's so crazy how many pieces are involved and how much. I mean, really, hundreds of different components.
Yep, you did a great job in that game.
Did you have specific, like, obviously you have references, obviously, but did they provide you with like blueprints, or like you guys just
did we received the parts already manufactured.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So we had to do some finessing to them, but for the most part, I mean, it was just like getting a 400-piece kit.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of hardware that goes in those things. They're like hurricane proof.
Yeah.
So,
I bet. I mean, they're outdoors.
They're outside.
There's a lot that goes into making them look the way that they're supposed to look.
Yeah.
So John,
great hardware and stuff.
So now your company now, Eblanworx.
Yeah. Eblanworx.
You're doing things like these projects, right? For productions for Disney and things like that.
And the Picard show, that was Eblanworx.
Right.
Yeah.
So what does your company now kind of encompass, and kind of what is your life now like, post ILM and working, doing these types of jobs?
There's no complaints. We've worked with a lot of different companies, a lot of different individuals, and it's always a wild ride. But the work is, the work is the work, in the sense that if I'm building a starship, doesn't matter who it's for, that starship is going to be the best that I can do. And so I said earlier, I'll never say I'm the best model maker. There are people out there that are just, amazing, but I'm good.
I can attest to that. You're pretty damn good.
And I think that because of my background, in the film industry, I do look at things a little different. A model looks the way it does. When you see a model on screen, a model looks the way it does because that's how the model maker left it when he was done. That's a real simple statement. But it is simply that simple. Why does the Enterprise refit look like she does? There was art direction there. There was somebody who created the design. There was somebody who did the artwork on it. But at the end of the day, there was a team of model makers that put their art themselves into that. So that's why the Enterprise looks like it looks. So, so that's where the credit stops. Okay. When people are making something, when they're making a Y-wing, let's see that you've got sitting behind you, as much as it needs to look like a Y-wing, it also needs to have the flaws and imperfections and perfections of that artist in it as well. You can't build out your flaws out of something. They're there. You have to embrace them. So, and nothing's perfect. So the imperfections that you see in anything is supposed to be there. So at a certain point, I kind of like, I guess you could say I threw my arms up into the wind and I just said, let's just go with it. Yeah. So if I'm making something, it looks like it does because that's how I made it look. And and it's supposed to reflect part of me. Now if I'm, I love Star Wars, I love Star Trek. The Enterprise is a character unto herself. And if I can capture the spirit of that ship in a 3-foot space and make somebody happy, then I did what I was supposed to do. I don't always focus on some of the nuances that somebody else might. Is this panel gray and is this panel white, or is this panel supposed to be white and this panel supposed to be gray? I'm not going to be able to copy exactly what a model maker did 40 years ago on something, that I will never actually get my hands on. Even with all the photographic references that's out there, there's time and there's money that's also involved. Something's only worth as much as someone's willing to pay for it. Right. So again, so the Y-wing behind you, you could probably find one person to say, you know what, that needs more work, and the next person would say that's got too much work. You ask 10 model makers their opinions, you're going to get 10 different answers.
Trust me, I know this industry.
Yeah. So I've embraced my love for something of what I do, and and that shows in everything that I do. Said nothing's perfect. Anything that I produce is only going to be as good as I am. And that pretty much goes for everybody with everything that you do. I guarantee I cannot carve a perfect sphere. Just can't do it. I'm not going to try. Yeah. But I do know what I can do, and that's right. That's where I focus my art, focus my energy. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I enjoy what I do. I love what I do. Being able to provide something for somebody that makes them happy. Yeah. With what we do, it doesn't matter if it's for a personal collection or a commercial industry. In a lot of ways, we're providing luxury items. Yeah. Luxury items that are often the most expensive thing in that arena. No. So if it's a private collector and they're buying something from you that's many thousands of dollars, when you think about it, you can get a very, very nice refrigerator for your home for $2,000. Yeah. And so when you find somebody that's willing to pay twice that, 3 times, 4 times more than that for something that's only 2-3 feet long, it's an honor, and it's a obligation to make sure that you do provide that spirit of what it is that they want from you. Whether it's a Y-wing, whether it's an R2-D2, or if it's a Dalek from Doctor Who, or whether it's a military replica, whatever it is, you've got the honor and obligation of giving them what it is that they're looking for. You want to be able to provide them something that when they think of that thing, whatever it is, they close their eyes, they see that thing. You want them to open their eyes when they look at your thing, and you want them to see no difference between what they see in their mind and what you provided them. And that takes a love. That takes loving what you do, for one. You can't fake it. Right. You can't phone it in. If you don't know your subject matter, you're also gonna fail on that end. So you've got to do the research.
And John, where can people contact you? Like if someone watching, obviously, this is Collection Wars. We have a lot of collectors, beautiful collections. If they wanted to work with you on a certain project, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Our website, it's Eblanworx.com. There's an info link on there. You click on that, and that goes to us. There's also social media links on our website for Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and so we're pretty accessible. We've got a wide range of products that we support, and we can base. I mean, it's a general statement. We can pretty much make anything for somebody that they want. It doesn't matter what it is. A long time ago, before my ILM days, I went into the local movie theater here, big 16 screen theater, and I wanted to have them pay me to build some Star Wars models because Episode 1 was coming out, and I built some models and hang them in the theater. And they're like, well, we don't need that, but we do need a Tarzan tree. This was when the animated Tarzan movie was coming out. And I'm like, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
I had never made a tree in my life. Never mind a full-size one to go in a lobby of a theater. But we then and there we negotiated on what they needed, on the price, and I walked away all happy, but scratching my head like, how am I going to make a tree? Yeah. But I did the research on trees, on the tree that they needed, and on how those were done as props, and put it together. And that's how that happens. You don't know what you're going to be called on to do next.
Right. So there you go, guys. To our watchers, John's looking for a challenge.
I might call you sometime.
I'm sure Michael's going to be the first. So guys, obviously, John's company and the link is in the description. So just go ahead and click that and get a hold of John and his team if you want to work on a project. John, what's next? Before we wrap this up, we want to be respectful of your time. I know we're past the 2-hour mark for you.
Oh, no worries. I said I told you once I start talking, I'm not going to stop. I love what I do. I love being able to talk about what I do. I love to be able to encourage people to do what they love to do. I kind of half jokingly make the comment that I'll never own a speedboat working in this industry, but I'm happy. I get to live life, on my terms. I'm not punching a clock. I'm not punching somebody else's clock. I'm punching my own. But if you find something that you love to do and you're good at it, you got to be good at it. If you can find a way to get paid to do it, it makes a lot of your life a lot easier to deal with. And that's my philosophy that I try to encourage for people. And it doesn't matter what it is, if it's model building or whatever it is. It's find something that you like to do. They also make the comment about it's you never look at it as a job. No, it's a job. It has all the grueling aspects of that of paying taxes and being responsible and all that stuff. So yeah, it is a job, and there are long hours involved. But no, we're breaking into aerospace now, doing miniatures for companies for aerospace, into boat building as well. Basically, we try to offer our needs, our services to people who have needs for the physical. If you're running a company and you're making this thing and you need a copy of this thing to show to investors for advertising, we want to be the company that provides you that thing. Because we can do it incredibly fast, and we're incredibly intuitive as to what the client's needs are. So
perfect.
Very nice.
Well, thank you so much, John. I really appreciate you taking the time. And I mean, obviously, all the contribution that you've had in the franchises that we love is just amazing, and I'm so happy and so glad that Joseph was able to connect us with you and have you on the show. I'm sure it's a big inspiration, obviously, for us and our viewers. And again, Joseph, I know, talks highly. I mean, your models are, Joseph just is
they're my prized
possession. Yeah, and we talk about the display, portion of it, but I mean, I'm just blown away. Thank you so much for jumping on and
well, I appreciate you letting me talk for 2 hours about me.
You're great, John. Your stories are, especially to you, thank you so much. They're very inspirational stories of how you got started in the industry. So a big shout out to all the modelers out there that are watching this, that want to pursue. It's not easy, but you'll never know unless you try. And John's a perfect example of he tried and he made it happen.
Yeah.
If you don't try, nothing comes from that. So
yeah, Michael, maybe let that be a lesson to you. Maybe email is probably the way to go rather than jumping the fence, right?
Yeah, but you know what? That would have been boring. That was at least an adventure. But that's all I got, John. I've got a really cool story, but unfortunately, it's cool to talk about nowadays for damn sure. That was 30 plus years ago, but it's just what an awesome opportunity that you had and working for ILM, and then like you said, it was your college education, to do live and doing what you're doing. So
another just real quick, another little anecdote to that was when once I started talking with the model shop supervisor directly, basically it became kind of like a one-on-one hire outside of the parameters of the company. So I got hired, officially, paperwork, all that, and then about 2 or 3 weeks into my employment, I get a postcard, just a general postcard from the company, from ILM, stating that thank you for applying, and we are currently not hiring, but we'll keep your resume on file for X number of days. And I remember bringing the card into the supervisor, jokingly. I'm like, should I be worried about this? He's like, just throw that away.
Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious.
But again, that was because I was proactive.
Yeah.
In pursuing what it was that I wanted, as opposed to letting the tides of life happen to me. I went at it, and sometimes you have to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Thanks so much, man, John.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Again, thank you so much, John. And Joseph, I'll let you. Any final words, Joseph?
Well, I just want to say, look, I mean, obviously we've done a lot of pieces together, right? Over the years. It's been over 10 years now?
At least 10.
Yeah, at least 10. And I absolutely love all the things that you've ever created for me. But
I appreciate that.
But better than all of those things has been the friendship that we've built together over the years. That's been definitely the best part. I'd give up all the models, for that friendship. It's been a wonderful ride.
You make me weep now.
Well, I just want you to know, and all the viewers, that that you're an incredible person, very kind-hearted, talented, wonderful individual, and I feel privileged to call you a friend.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That means a lot. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much again, John. We really appreciate your time, and hopefully maybe we'll have you again sometime and talk about your future projects. And
I got more stories.
Sounds great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, John.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you. Guys, have a great day. I appreciate it.
You too, buddy.
There it is, guys. So what'd you think?
Man, that was a good deal, wasn't it?
Yeah. And look at Joseph's on with us. Let's bring him on.
Hey.
What's up, Joseph?
Hey, guys. I haven't moved since this morning.
Yeah, you look like
apparently I'm the only one. I just threw on this the sweater and ready to go.
Hey, guys. So did some douchebag out there flag our channel or something? What happened?
I don't know, man. I mean, I think there's some copyright stuff. I figured that.
I mean, is that? I'm not sure. Is that how it works? Because can
I think
someone
you could
flag you that fast?
I don't think so. I don't think so. But the good news is they saw it's Collection Wars and just put us back live.
We made some phone calls.
Yeah.
Kind of like, hey, YouTube.
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't even think about that earlier when we were recording, which was all these clips from the films, that they might get flagged, right, for copyrights. So
yeah, that's funny.
Didn't that
move this chair?
What?
I was like messing with the lights while we were doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That was a good interview, though. That's really cool to
dude,
hear the backstories on how somebody made their way, through the front door instead of the back door, and that's pretty cool.
He's had quite a career.
Yeah, imagine that, just being like, I'm gonna email ILM and be like, hey, I want a job, and they're like, all right, cool.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the things we talked about right after the interview. The viewers didn't get to see that part about John Knoll, who's another, effects supervisor there at ILM.
Yeah.
And I had been reading.
John sent those to us, John. Sorry. Okay.
And I had read an article about him recently and how he got involved. And, as a preteen and teenager, he was building models, and then he wrote to ILM and, told him that he sent him some of his work, and they were very interested, and they said, yeah, you should come next time you're in the area, come by and visit. We'll give you a tour. So he takes a trip there with his family at age 14 and takes a cab and goes to ILM, knocks on the door, and one of the guys, I don't know if it was John Dykstra, one of those guys, they're like, who are you? And he's like, I'm John Knoll. You told me to come by and visit. And they're like, you're 14, get lost, kid, and come back in 5 years. And then he did, and now he works for them.
Yeah. Nuts. Yeah. But thank you for making that happen, Joseph. And
it's my pleasure. I mean, it was, John is a pretty private person, so I was surprised when he, accepted the invitation, and I was really happy that he did. You guys got to see kind of the person behind all the pieces that I've been showing you all these years. That was, I think, my first interview with you guys, but when we did the room tour, I think I sent you a bunch of pictures of his ships.
Yeah.
And, he's a great guy, really, really kind-hearted guy. And one of the things I told you guys this story once before on the show, and I didn't want to bring it up during the interview, but, I think maybe some of the viewers will recall once one of the pieces I had ordered from a company that he was working for. And I was ordering the pieces through them, and I had pre-ordered the piece, and I had waited, like we do with so many things, right? Wait and wait and wait. Mm-hmm. I waited 3 years, and then one day I get an email from them saying, sorry, we've stopped production on this piece. Mm-hmm. And we're going to cancel your order, and we'll refund you your money. Mm-hmm. And I knew John was making these things for them. So I called him up, and I was like, what the hell? What's going on? And he said, look, this is the situation. There are only 3 more outstanding orders, yours being one of them. And and the molds are shot.
Yeah.
And the company won't pay to remake the molds for 3 customers because it's too expensive. And he said, I'm really sorry, my hands are tied. They won't do it. And he said, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you my prototype.
Wow.
And cool. he gave me his prototype, which was, imagine, someone doing that for you.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the kind of guy he is.
Well, thanks again, Joseph, for having him on. That was cool. Appreciate that, buddy.
Well, thanks for entertaining it. So,
I wanted to bring up, so in other news, did you guys see Marcel's post Marcel, are you still on here? This is so cool. Let me share this. Hold on. So he got to meet Emily.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
and got to give him one of the prints, and yeah, took some cool pictures up there.
Wow.
Look at that. So cool, right?
She's really wonderful. I met her about 6 months ago, and she's super sweet. And she comes out, takes pictures with the fans, and
Yeah,
a really nice lady. I didn't know he met her.
yeah, it's
Oh,
so
that's
cool.
great.
Yeah, he gave her one of the prints, and he gave another one to for her to give to What's his name? Brandon. He's the guy in the costume. I mean, not Pedro Pascal, but obviously the stunt person.
Oh, I don't remember his name.
I forget his name.
Cool.
Brandon something. Marcel, can you remind me what's his name?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, no, it's super cool. Brandon Wayne. There you go.
Brandon Wayne.
Yeah. So that's super cool. And then she posted it. So that's even cooler, right? She like posted the picture on her story and with the image. And I'm not Marcel, did you end up giving the other ones, the Boba Fett ones to what's her name? Oh my god. Finnick, right? Finnick?
Oh, Naming. Oh,
I know.
I forget the order of her name.
I know. But yeah, no, he was well prepared for the con.
That's really cool.
Black. What's that?
Hey Gabe, I'm gonna send you Gabe the Ion Cannon display because it was on the Instagram, but I don't know if anybody saw it. That's on the show, but just for giggles, this is the 1/144 scale figures for the Ion Cannon. If you want to
You're
show
sending it to me right now?
Yeah, I just sent it.
Yeah, let's have Marcel jump on too. Let's see.
Yeah, let's hear about his experience.
All right, let me try to get this going. Hold on. Get the.
So, Michael, I was pretty shocked during the interview when you said you were watching Star Trek the night before.
I know.
Yeah,
What's going on there?
Right. I really like them.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
Turned out pretty good, huh?
Very nice.
Really great job.
Thank you, buddy.
So
yeah, Matt's working on his as well. It's coming out really nice too.
Yeah, he's doing a fantastic job. Yeah, I'm going to do still a couple. I got Joel did some cool paint ups. I painted that, but I'm going to do like a little in the cave. I'm going to do like a little accent light in there, and we got a snow speeder coming. It's really, really cool. Yeah.
So, Michael, how did you do that? Is it just foam, carved foam?
That's all carved foam and pre-painted, and then mixed with paint and glue, and of course, what I always use.
You're live, Marcel.
Oh, am I?
Baking soda. Hey, Marcel.
Yo, 1 second here. I'm just changing my mic so I can. Usually, my laptop, the sound is really bad when you guys upload the video, so I'm using this little snowball mic. Where is it? There it is. Anyway, but please, Mike, please continue with what you were talking about.
Yeah, no problem. How you doing, Marcel? By the way, you doing okay?
Yeah, super fine, man. Yeah, super fine. But keep it going, bro. Keep it going.
Yeah. So we were just talking. So that to answer Joseph, baking soda is what I use for a lot of the models.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, the parts that look like they're, that looks like sculpted. I mean, maybe that's baking soda, but on the side of the mountain, right up at the very top.
Yeah.
Behind. How did you do that? Is that glue or?
So let me tell you, it's funny that you say that. So I'll go ahead and tell everybody. After I did this beautiful little video and it just turned out fantastic, I left it where it sat, and on the sides, a lot of the pieces, because of the weight of maybe the powder or whatever, it tightened up. But anyway, a lot of little clumps fell off. So everything's going to be completely the same. I just got to go about it different on the sides, so I don't have it happen when I have it in its final display with the lighting and stuff on it. So I know what I'm going to do this go around. But yeah, what a mess! It was a mess.
So this area right here is baking
soda. Yeah.
Oh, so because it looks like it's sculpted something or other.
Yeah, like how did
right.
you?
Well, so what it is because it is. So I've got I used sheetrock mud in there, and then I put glue on there, and then I applied the baking soda, and I did that on a couple models that have for years. It still looks exactly the same, but that being said, they're on flat surfaces, not walls. So this is a little bit more challenging. So I'm going to go back to the drawing board.
Drywall mud. Okay, that's good. No, that's really, it looks good.
Yeah, and I had it in the sun, so because a lot of times if you put it on thick, you'll get little cracks and stuff.
Right.
So I was sure to make sure it cured for a few days before I applied anything else. I did that with the 6-scale Jabba, the hut diorama that we're working on.
Yeah, that looks awesome.
Thank you.
And then you also got some updates, right?
Yeah. So guys, I was gonna wait till we were done to do the big reveal, but I want you guys to enjoy the ride as this thing is getting built, because it's really cool to see the process. I'm going to do a complete tutorial when it's completed, but I wanted everybody to see the details of. Right now, it looks like the Incredible Hulk, but the stance that he's going off of, he's killing it, and it's amazing. This thing is standing on its own too right now. That's with even it hunched over like that, and it's from bottom to top. It's about 7.5 feet. This picture was taken today, and now he's working on all the sculpting of the actual body, and the head of the Wampa is going to be in a bench worked on the rest of the week. So
that's crazy. That's massive.
Man, I'm just so excited for seeing the claws. I mean, they're doing the details in the hands and the paws.
Mike, do you mind if I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
Yo, bro, do you ever have any neighbors come around and be like, what is going on around here with your stuff?
They all know who I am. They all know who I am. But yeah, but this isn't me. This is a very highly talented artist that's doing this and does a lot of work for Lucasfilm and Lucasfilm licensees. So
nice.
But yeah, man, it's really cool with the hands on it and everything. But just imagine this big bastard dragging Luke. I'm just the outfit through Cloth Ears is complete. It's actually en route and will be at its destination next week. So I'm looking forward to seeing Luke in his outfit and his face, and it's just all coming together really nicely. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, looks great.
Yeah, it's going to be a really cool diorama, and you'll be able to walk all the way around this thing too. So,
wow,
man,
yeah,
that's beautiful.
He kind of looks like the Hulk, doesn't it?
Yeah,
very much so.
Yeah,
crazy.
So.
Yeah. So Marcel, so tell us about this convention. What's up?
So the convention, the name of the convention was the Vancouver Fan Expo. Is that what it's called? Yeah, Fan Expo. It's just called the Fan Expo, and I've never been to one of these before. And the purpose of our visit was our family and Khaleesi goes to school with our 9-year-old. Goes to school with a couple of other kids, and there's 4 of them basically that are deep into cosplay, and they get together and cosplay as often as they can, and they really enjoy it. It's something that brings them together and allows them to express themselves in really interesting ways. So the Vancouver Fan Expo came up on our radar as an opportunity to introduce them to the wider community. So, these are 9 and 10-year-olds who are just cosplaying in their bathrooms and their bedrooms and sometimes they're just starting to go out. And a couple of weeks ago, we'd gone to a park and some kids were, unfortunately, most of the response is positive. Some kids were teasing them and stuff like that. So we decided to let them know that, hey, we bought some tickets for you guys, and we're going to take you down to the Fan Expo, and you're going to meet like the world of cosplay. So they were super thrilled about that. And what ended up happening was, as we were looking into it, I noticed that like Kevin Smith, the guy from Clerks, and the long-haired dude, Jay, is that his name? Anyway, they were
Silent Bob.
Jay and Silent Bob. They were supposed to be there, and a couple of other people will be there, but it wasn't like that hefty a roster. So I didn't really pay any attention to it.
Shatner was the headliner.
Was he the headliner even back then?
Oh no!
Yeah.
Bob and Jay.
So Bob and Jay were like the main dudes on the show. And then I logged in on Thursday. William Shatner was there. Emily was there. All kinds of people were there. So I was like, damn, what am I going to do? So, of course, I don't have an armor helmet, and I don't have a Fennec gun because, I mean, those take months. Anyway, so I had a couple of the Mando prints at my place, and I called Alan, my printer, and I ran down there and grabbed a couple of Boba Fett's, and I made a little note. I had no idea what I was doing, right? You're just like, okay, I've never met an actor before. And I made a couple of notes, and I wrote on the bottom of my prints, my website and my Instagram. I'm crossing my fingers. Maybe they'll go check it out. I literally have no idea what I'm doing. So, but I was going down there anyway. So we went, and I had them all packaged for them. And I brought one for Emily and one for her to give to Pedro. And I brought one for Ming Na. Is it Ming Na? Sorry, I beg your pardon.
Ming Na.
And one for I always forget how to say this guy's name. The Boba Fett actor, help me. Morrison. So I brought one for each, the co-star and the two co-stars. So, and I wrote a little note, and I wrote their name. It was just something nice about how they had brought the figure to life for all of us, and that this was a gift for them. So when I got there, Emily was literally by herself. She was all alone, like nobody was talking to her. So I walked up, and I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. But for those of you that might be surprised, it's Vancouver, and Vancouver is a weird place. And I think people respond mostly to just super famous people here. I don't know what the deal is. So I went up, and I said, "Hey, this is for you." And she was super cool. Like, we just talked, her and Nancy and I. Nancy is my wife, and she runs the website. We talked for like 15-20 minutes. We could have talked for such a long time about all kinds of things. And
we started to get a line behind us.
Yeah, Joseph Campbell. We were talking about Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey, and I was talking about my analysis of her character, and she's like, "Yep, you totally know you're on it." It was great. It was kind of like a sort of a philosophical discussion, and then we got into like how she felt about playing the character. And I said, "Look, I brought an extra print for Pedro," and she said, "To be honest with you, I never see him. He just does the voice. He's never really around."
No.
So the guy who plays the role, like the guy that we see, the guy that we saw in episode 5, is Brendan Wayne. Brendan Wayne is, I think, the grandson of John Wayne. So,
really?
Yeah, it was an interesting little fact.
Not the stunt guy.
What?
He's not the stunt guy.
Yeah, he's not a stunt guy. He's like, what did she say he was? Yeah, sorry. We're just tag teaming over here. He's the body actor for Mandalorian. So she said, dude, he would love to have this. And so I pulled the little note for Pedro Pascal, and I was like, this never happened.
Yeah.
And she's like, awesome, great. We kept talking, and I didn't want to be like a kind of a wanker, and some people were showing up, so we quit. But we got some photos together.
Yeah.
And it was super dope. It was really cool. I later went back up to her and I was like, yo, you got to hook me up with your agent's address, because I got to send you some certificates of authenticity. I was too busy drinking last night to be really prepared for today. So, and she's like, yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
So she hooked me up with that. So I'll send those off to her and Brendan whenever, a couple of days from now or whatever.
Marcel, let me ask. Let's ask a question. So on in regards to the exclusive Collection Wars McQuarrie Vader, where do we stand on that? We're going to conventions and that's all. So now where are we at?
It's where we, dude. You can't ask me these questions. It's gonna be super. It's gonna be ages, bro. It's gonna take a long time.
The reason is because I've had about 20 people reach out and ask me about the Vader, and I'm like, I don't know, but we're gonna ask him live. So
I don't think anybody cares. I don't think anybody cares. But my daughter, like in January, was like, I want your room, Dad. And you're going to move all your stuff to my room, and I'm going to move all my stuff. We started that in November. It was ridiculous. So we got back from States, and it was a gong show, bro. I have barely even gotten started. I have photos. I'll send you those.
Yeah,
it's going to be a while.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, dude. It's all good.
I'm not on the spot. It's all good. So yeah, it's lots of fun. I'm working on it. It's great. It's coming along. Nice. So after sorry guys, I've had a couple of drinks, so try to keep my thoughts together.
Wait, didn't you do that last night too, Marcel?
Yeah, dang. Hey, I meant to ask Joseph and Gabe. Did I hear about the Back to the Future new sideshow DeLorean that just went out?
Yeah, it's from Hot Toys.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I got it.
You got the pictures?
Oh, you want to see the pictures? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Joseph, did you order it?
Yes, I did.
Hi.
Hi, Nancy.
Patty.
Yeah, she runs the show. She's the boss.
Sure.
Yeah.
People, like really good, cool people are texting me, like they DM me, can you send me a plaque? Can you send me this? And I start talking and I forget to forward them to Nancy. And because I just have so much fun talking with everybody. Anyway, cool. It's been, Nancy handles so much of everything. I would be like lost. Yeah. Anyway, let's go, Gabe.
So the Back to the Future 2 DeLorean flying, DeLorean was something they teased at San Diego Comic-Con. Hot Toys did. When was that, Gabe? What, 2015, 2016?
Yeah.
And then they never made it. And people were pretty upset, but they and now all of a sudden, they started re-releasing the Back to the Future figures. And they released, they were teasing a few months ago, they were teasing the Part 3 DeLorean time machine with the makeshift time circuits on the hood and the the white wall wheels.
Yeah.
And then they just released this. And it's I think it's what people have been wanting for a long time, especially those who prefer Back to the Future Part 2 to Part 1. So
the best one.
Yes.
The best Back to the Future.
So the only thing I have to say, I mean, it's really amazing because of all the light up features, the wheels, the exhaust, and then underneath they have, I think that, well, I don't know if they're going to be sequential, but they're supposed to be sequential green running lights going on, the bottom. You'll see it in one of the pictures. You'll see the green lights. But people are having a little bit of an issue.
So did they light up the
The time
The
circuit?
time circuit
I
finally?
don't think so.
Well,
I think
it looks a little lit there.
It looks lit, but that's how it looked in the promo shots for the first two, and they were never lit. So I think there's a little bit of photographic trickery there. But
oh no,
yeah. But
that's not right.
The thing that people are having a problem with are the wheels when they're down, when the car is flying.
Mm-hmm.
They're not supposed to be that low. So you see how far down they are in that picture? How far?
What, there should be no gap?
They're supposed to be way up. You're only supposed to see the bottom edge of the tire. It's supposed to be flush with the bottom of the car.
Oh.
So like if the car landed with the wheels up, the bottom of the car would hit the ground before the tires do. And this is way off. This is not accurate. Yeah. So I'm not sure what I think they had to do it that way because of the way the swivel, but it's not accurate. Yeah, you can see the green running lights on the bottom. Yeah.
It still looks cool.
Oh yeah. It does. And if you're looking at it from below, you probably won't notice.
I like how they made it all grimy too.
You know what I'm living is that little by little we're sinking Gabe deep into the rabbit hole of the 1/6
scale. Yeah.
I know.
I don't know.
I know you're not. I'm just
good. I canceled all my 6 scale stuff.
Did you?
I don't know if you saw the post.
All the Marvel stuff, yeah.
Oh.
Did you guys see the post from Jazz Inc?
No.
So apparently he was working on doing this version. And he was in talks with Universal, and then I guess they kind of ghosted him the last couple of weeks, and then Hot Toys released this.
Oh, scandalous.
So yeah, unfortunately, he was a little disappointed because I think he was kind of in the process of production, or at least the early stages, design and all of that. So now he's dropped it because he kind of made a promise when he first started his business that he wouldn't do anything that Hot Toys has done or is going to be doing.
Yeah, he discussed that on our show.
Yeah. But this looks incredible. I mean, the first version they did is beautiful. So I'm expecting no less for this one.
No. Awesome.
Yeah. Michael, did you order that?
I did. I ordered it. Matt, I didn't know. Matt sent me a link, said, "Hey, dude, look what I just got." And I'm like, "Holy crap."
Yeah.
So, I got the figure, the Marty figure. And, I don't have anything else but Star Wars. But actually, I take that back. I did get a Michael Myers 6 scale. And then, of course, I like the Back to the Future deal. I was telling Gabe that I'd have loved to have traded him this one for his, you know what I mean? But
part 1.
Yeah. Considering that I cannot stand part 2, but
it was
Matt that told me that, hey, you can take. I honestly don't care because they do a damn good job, and it's the DeLorean.
You can make this one look like the part 1.
Yeah, that's what Matt said.
Yeah,
that's really cool, and I hear the display on it's pretty cool too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you should be able. I mean, if they're smart, they'll make it so you can remove the Mr. Fusion and you can swap the license plate sticker, and then it'll basically be like the part 1.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Hey, since we're talking 6 scale, I'll tell you, Felipe that goes by Phil, when we had him on the show with Izzy, he's doing a fantastic job on my 6 scale snow speeder, the Luke version. Mm-hmm. I remember this guy's done 31 of these big bastards, and he's killing it. This one is new, improved cockpit lighting and details. But every Sunday, I'll get a list of everything that he built in the pictures, which is absolutely amazing. This guy just comes through, but I can't wait to see that thing in person, the snow speeder. You know what I mean, Joseph?
Yeah, that's going to be incredible. I mean, a lot of people are doing that, right? He's doing that, and Yost is doing the 1/6 scale also.
Yeah.
So there's going to be, and then for the Macquarie fans out there, Sci-Fi Studio Model Group in Germany is going to be making a model of the Macquarie Snowspeeder.
Wow.
Oh, cool.
Oh, very cool.
Doing a kit for the Macquarie Snowspeeder. That's going to be pretty cool.
I have one, a Macquarie.
Yeah. Did Jason make? yours?
No. You know what? So I don't know who did it originally, but I know, and I don't even think Corbanth has it anymore. But he bought the molds to it. But Corbanth,
Okay.
But it's like one of the only models I've built on my own. So
you built it. You built
I built that one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's I love all those designs. All the Macquarie designs are really beautiful.
Man, after our interview today, Joseph, I've really been contemplating I already know, like, on the lighting, what I'm doing in the new model gallery. But I've got to really, I want the pedestals to be really cool,
Okay, so we mentioned that briefly during the interview, right? And we've talked about this, and I don't think you knew, right, that this was what I was dealing with.
No, not at all.
Because you had told me a few times, why don't you mount them, use Panavice mounts and mount your models the way I do, and I kept telling you I can't. The models I have are not meant to be displayed that way, and that's because I made these beautiful bases for all the ships that have these mirror bottoms, so you can see the bottom of the ship, and it has this an outline and a plaque on it with the designation of the ship and everything. So it's really hard to,
it's hard to display that like that because it takes up so much square footage, right? I mean, just 3 or 4 models and you can be done,
Exactly.
I mean, just when I roll in the 8-foot Star Destroyer, I'm going to be really limited, so.
Yeah.
I got to ask, but I'm going to keep, like, the Death Star is going to stay in the main gallery, and but just that whole wall is coming down. And
well, your Death Star, you can't, the way you have it displayed in that pillar is perfect.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Gabe loves that.
Yeah,
but I am definitely looking forward to the design. I've got it in the head of how we're going to do it.
Yeah, so. Gabe, I was gonna let me send you a couple of pictures. Speaking of John, because I don't think I didn't send these to you for the show, but let me send these to you now, and you can show them.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going to display that. I mean, I have the part one, and it's just sitting in that other little room I have with all my vintage kind of toys and little collection there. So I don't know. I'm going to have to figure that out. In our family room, I think what's going to happen is, so right now I have a 4-year-old, right? And my 4-year-old, like, just dominates every room with her toys, right? So I'm thinking, like, once she's a little bit older, even just a couple years, all those little toys and all that stuff, I'm sure they're going to start going into her room, and she's going to, like most kids, unfortunately, just kind of stop playing with them everywhere, So once that happens, I'll probably turn the family room into an actual, like, little movie room. So that's probably where I'll display the Back to the Future stuff, and
that'll be cool. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Well,
hey, Joseph, are you able to chat while you're doing that?
I can. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can talk, but I'm just looking for these pictures to send.
I don't want to distract you too much, but I was curious about whether the gentleman that was the feature of the interview, I apologize, I forget his
name.
John
Eblan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, John. So your first contact with him was an inquiry into your order. That was the first time you ever contacted him?
Okay, hold on one second. Let me just.
Sorry. Yeah, just
it's okay,
him, bro.
Gabe, I don't know if you may get some extraneous pictures here, but these are all pieces that John made, and he mentioned how beautiful the things look when they're lit. So here you go. I'm sending you those. Let me come back. So what happened was the way I got to know John is at the time he started. At the time I was kind of introduced to his work, he was working for another company that was selling what they called artisan replicas. Okay. What they didn't tell you was who was doing it. So they just had these things on their website, and you could purchase them. And what it was is you would order it, and then they would send the order to John, And John would be toiling away, right, in his workshop with his crew, making these things for people. But it was all kind of, I mean, he wasn't really the one getting the credit.
Yeah.
But what happened is that for some of the pieces, I had some special requests. And we kind of touched on this during the interview. And that is that one of the ships, and it's actually one of the ones that I sent Gabe pictures of, has some colors on it that are very difficult to discern by watching the movie. So this is the ship. This is the Refit Enterprise. And you can see what he did here was he used these iridescent paints. So he paints this, what they call an Aztec pattern. It's meant to look like hull plating. But the paint
almost looks like fish scale.
Yeah. But what it is so the colors are, they're like these pearlescents, but they're color shifting. So if you look at them straight on, they don't look like anything. But then if you hit them at an angle, they have all these different colors, right?
Right.
There's like a blue
crazy.
and a gold and a red. Yeah, it's beautiful. And that's actually how the original ship was painted in the motion picture. But then they repainted it for Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan because all these colors, when the light hits it, was messing with their map process, and it was like a nightmare to try and film the ship. So they ended up repainting it and lost all of this. But when people build models of it, they try and do this.
Yeah.
Well, there are some colors. So if you look at the back of the, behind the saucer, right, and the engine, the secondary hull, you'll see there's these little like patches where it looks kind of like blue-green. It's like this gray, blue-green color. And it's very hard to know what those colors are by looking at the filming, the model on screen. And even when you look at pictures of the model, every picture the color looks different. Some pictures the color looks blue, some looks green, some look gray. And John sent me a couple of pictures and I'm like, okay, I like this color, I don't like this color. He's like, that's the same model I'm taking pictures of. I'm just taking the picture, they're different pictures of the same model. So we spent months going back and forth. Like I ended up having to send him color samples, right, to get this, to get the color that I wanted. But in that process, we got to know each other really well. And then we continued to work on other models. And even after he, left that company, he and I continued our relationship and continued to build, do projects together like that Orville. That Orville that you saw there was, I mean, I approached him and I was like, I really want to do this. And he's like, well, what size do you want to do it? And I told him, I said, I think 36 inches is a good scale. I think we should, shoot for that. And he modeled it all and did it. So we've become really and since then, I mean, my wife and I went to Florida. We stayed with him and his wife in their home, and we've been very good friends ever since.
Do you mind if I ask you? The Orville looked from the pictures that we saw. The rear looked pretty fragile. How was that shipped? How did you receive that?
So the way he ships things is he makes these custom wooden crates, and then he layers high density foam in layers, and then each layer gets laser cut to the shape of the ship, right? So the shape, basically the ship is suspended in this negative space that is exactly the shape of the ship.
Crazy.
But to make things safer, he actually palletizes the crate and ships it as freight. So then it comes to me never having been turned over, turned on its side. It comes right off of the truck and on a pallet jack, and they bring it to my house. And, it has to be done that way because they are really fragile.
Yeah.
The
highly breakable. It looked like that's going to break.
Yeah, but he does reinforce it. There is a lot of fiberglass, in these ships. So they're fiberglass, epoxy, resin, it's a combination of a lot of materials he's using, but it's funny because they're kind of flexible, but at the same time rigid. It's hard to describe, but yeah. So these are all, I'm sorry, the pictures were all mixed up, but you can see, Michael, this is when I took the ships out to test them. but I did not take the base out and mount them on the bases. So these, to give you an idea of the size of this ship, that's our dinner table.
Yeah.
Right. So it's huge. But that plate that you see there, that metal plate, the steel plate, that gets covered by the acrylic, the mirrored acrylic. The mirror has a hole in it, and you pass it right over that post, and then this plate gets embedded inside the base.
That's going to be really cool the day that comes that you finally get that all done. And
oh yeah. And then he did this. I know you're not a Marvel fan, Michael, but this is the Milano. This is from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, this is another one that we collaborated on in the sense that I wanted one of these badly, and I told him that I was interested that that there were no model kits available, and then there was a company called I'm trying to remember. I think it's called. Oh man, I'm blanking on the name. It's not Iron Studios, another company in Asia that was making a model of this, but it was out of polystone, and it was not lit, but it was a large scale replica. And I said
that was heavy.
Yeah, it was. It was over 100 pounds because it was 3 feet. It had a 3-foot wingspan, and it was polystone. So I sent him the pictures, and I was like, John, I think I'm going to have to order this because I don't see any alternatives. Right? There are no model kits. There's nothing available. And he tells me, he says in his very, I mean, he does this a lot. He's like, don't order it. And I said, why not? He goes, I can't tell you why not. Just don't order it and be patient. And I'm like, well, what the hell does that mean? But he said, just trust me, wait, you'll be happy. And 2 months later, he sent me pictures of this, and he said, "This is the that has a 28-inch wingspan."
Wow!
And it's beautiful. But I told him, I said, you really had me on edge for months. But in the end, what happened was they only produced 4 of these things. And one went to me, one went to another collector, and the other 2, I think, went to Marvel. Went to their headquarters. Yeah.
Well, I don't need to jump in and kill the show or anything, but it's after 12, and I've got Sean here, and I'm going to go back over and hang out with the wife and them. So I just wanted to say, I don't know, Gabe, what you think? We're a bit 3-hour mark.
We were at the 3-hour mark. Yeah. I mean,
okay.
Yeah, we could. I mean, we could stay a little bit longer. I mean, yeah, Michael, you definitely should
go.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
especially Sean there and all that.
Have fun with Sean and say hi to him.
I had a good time, and again, Joseph, thanks for putting that together. It's cool to know that guy now.
Anytime, there's more to come. We have some more guests that are gonna. I think people are really gonna go nuts over. So
yeah, we've got some crazy lineups. Just getting everything in with our schedules, Gabe and I's schedules, plus these people. But it's great. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty cool. What's really cool is that we're documenting all these awesome artists. That's going to be in the file now, and on YouTube that people can hear their stories, and a lot of them you would have never heard those stories if it wasn't for the show Collection Wars. So it's pretty exciting. But I want to thank everybody for your 3 hours on a Saturday night and however long the show continues to last. I look forward to hanging out with Gabe next Saturday. And like always, love everybody, Star Wars guys. I'll see you guys soon enough. Okay, Marcel, Joseph.
Thanks, Michael.
Later, Michael.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you guys as well. Y'all take care. Okay.
Peace, bro.
Later,
bye.
Yeah. So John does. I mean, he's an amazing artist, and I have a whole list of stuff, that I want to work on with him. But it's really funny because just to show you, again, the kind of person he is, when my daughter was born, he told me, he said, look, I just want you to know, things are going to change for you.
Yeah.
And I fully expect that you're not going to be commissioning any more pieces from me. because now your priorities are different. But
You're like,
yeah,
hold my beer.
Yeah, I was like, no, John, my daughter's sacrificing her college education, so you could make you more. Anyway, but he said, but I don't want you to think that's going to change our friendship at all.
Yeah.
You know, I just want you to know that. I mean, he's a great guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and very talented.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it's the passion, right? Like, that's what he was saying. You know, the passion behind it, all the detail. I mean, you can't fake that. You know.
Now I hit him up for the. You saw Dune.
Yeah.
Right, Marcel. Did you see Dune?
No, bro, I haven't seen it yet. It's on the list.
Okay. Well, there's a ship in Dune that I fell in love with, and I want him to do that one now. It's the
big sphere.
The sphere ship, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would be a cool piece.
Yeah, that would be a crazy one.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Marcel, so we didn't talk about the Boba Fett one. So what happened to the Boba Fett prints? Did you end up giving it to Ming? What's her name?
So Ming's lineup was bonkers. It was when we arrived, she was in the process of executing her panel, and it was pretty milk it was pretty standard. Like there wasn't anything really revealing, or it was just kind of like a promo, and it was pleasant and it was really nice. And I was sitting outside writing, little details and letters and stuff like that, so that I could hand them off to them and stuff. But she had a big audience, that's for sure. And when I got to the lineup, there was a huge. So you got to understand, guys, for the people that are watching, I'd never been to a con before. I mean, the last con I went to was when I was like 15, and I had like 150 comic books under my arm to be signed by all the artists that were there. No, well, that's not true. I also did some sci-fi cons later when I was like 16 and 17. I was actually a DJ at some, what was it called? Ad Astra was a big con in Toronto. It was at one of the the hotel airports, and I was the DJ out there for those guys. Wow. So I haven't been to a con in ages. And anyway, long story short, her lineup was huge. And what she was doing was they had a staffer organizing the photos for people to select. And some people came up with like toys and products for her to sign. So somebody had a 3D printed Mando helmet that they did. So she would inquire about them, and she was very pleasant, and spent some time with people speaking. So, but the lineup was crazy. It was so long. I was there for hours and hours and hours waiting to get into the line.
Right.
So she was. This is a testament to her spending time with people and talking with them, and not just doing stuff and saying next. So that's I mean, that was nice to see from afar, but feet were getting sore. So finally, I got in the line and got up there, and the person asked me what it was that I wanted to have her sign, and I said, "Oh, I don't have anything for her to sign. I would like to. I have a gift that I would like to give her." And so I showed her on my phone what I gave to Emily Swallow, to show her that I had done this previously with somebody else. And she said, "Oh, that's great." And she said, "Well, what would you like to have signed?" And I was like, "I don't want to have anything signed because I'm a poor artist." And she said, No, I insist. So I actually got one of these little Fennec things signed at the behest of her staff. No, you have to have something signed. Don't be ridiculous. And I said, "Really, I did not come here wanting anything." And she said, "No, I really insist. Give me your name and she'll sign this." So I walked over and I said to her, who I was, and I showed her on my phone the original artwork. I said, "Look, sorry, I don't have your Fennec helmet done. These things take a lot of time to do." And she says, No, I love Boba Fett. It's amazing. And so I opened it up, and she was very happy with it. And I had brought two. So I brought one for her and for her co-star, Tamara Morrison, and she was very impressed and really glad to receive something.
Yeah.
You know, she'd spent hours and hours and hours signing, and I said, "Yeah, well, you give so much, you should get something." So I said, "By the way, do you happen to see your lesser known co-star?" And she laughed. So, you know, that was a good joke.
Yeah.
And she says, "Yeah, I see him all the time. No problem." I said, "Well, if you would be so kind as to present this to him on my behalf, I would be, you know, honored if you would do that." And she said, "Of course, no problem. I know he's going to love this." So she was, you know, very warm and receptive, and had all of the qualities that you would love to see in any person.
Yeah.
And so she said, "We have to take a picture of you and I together with the artwork." So, you know, that's something that people are spending a lot of money on, and she just like without a second thought was like, "Yeah, this is how we're doing this."
Yeah, did that, right?
Yeah, Emily, go ahead.
Yeah, they were charging like close to $100 for selfies, and so we were just like, we don't really have selfie money, and they're like, no, you did.
Yeah,
so
it was cool.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah, they were very gracious, and I'm not gonna lie though. I'm not gonna lie. Like I play it off cool, but I'm gonna be honest with you. Like when I met Emily, my hand was shaking. I was so nervous. I was trying to open the package.
And Marcel, your internet connect. You're breaking up quite a bit, Marcel.
I'm shaking. I'm nervous. Oh, are they both gone? Or am I gone?
No.
I don't know. Am I the only one on here?
Your internet. Yeah, it's a little. Your internet's a little. It's been a little choppy.
Yeah, my internet died. Sorry. Yeah. Am I back?
You're back.
You're back. A little delay, but you're good.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. So don't be fooled by me. I was extremely nervous. I said to Emily, "I've never met a famous person before," and I calmed down in about 2 minutes. And Nancy said, "Oh, it's good practice because I have plans to go to a couple of other events soon in the States, but that's neither here nor there right now."
Yeah.
They were very nice, though. Really wonderful.
Well, that's really cool. That's really cool that you got to meet them and give them your artwork, and that's cool that she shared that picture too.
Yeah.
It was very generous. I mean, it doesn't get much more generous than that. So I appreciate it.
You know, it's funny. So I met Emily about 6 months ago, and she was so nice, and I got this impression. I mean, she didn't say this, but I got this impression from her that she was like, "Why am I getting showered with all this attention? Right? Nobody knows who I am. Right? I'm wearing a helmet the whole time." And you know,
all the Star Wars nerds, we all know you. We all know what's up.
Exactly.
Real quick.
But guys,
here we go. Just a minute.
I loved Emily. I loved Emily. She, we were praising her for being able to, portray this kind of gravitas and kind of oracle guardian kind of vibe without any facial expressions, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So and we started talking archetypes with her, right? And Joseph Campbell, and she was right there, right? She
was into it.
Yeah,
it was super cool. It was
really
just
neat.
Like this. It was just like this. It was just hanging out, talking. As I'm sure, Joseph, that's how it was for you. It was just a really nice, down to earth experience, and it was good for me because that was my first time meeting except for you guys, meeting a famous person. And,
We're not. We're according to my wife, we're nerd famous.
Famous is famous.
Nerd famous.
Gabe is
TikTok famous.
What do you call the thing? Gazebo? No, not gazebo. What was that ice machine called? I'm a Canadian. I should know.
The Zamboni.
Zamboni famous.
Yeah.
Anyway,
TikTok famous.
Well, here's the thing, Marcel. Don't get too accustomed to it because they're not all that nice.
No, I that's why it was such a wonderful experience. And Just like any other group of people, actors you're going to find the full spectrum of humanity. So it's to be expected. But it was nice to start off with such a wonderful spirit of a human being that was so kind.
Yeah.
Well, guys, it's definitely past the bedtime now. Well, my wife is. She's already sleeping. She's like, "Are you gonna go back on?" I was like, "Yeah, just for a little bit." She's like, "What's a little bit?" I was like, "Just like 20 minutes." Here we are, an hour and 20 minutes later. So, guys, let's call it a night. Joseph, thank you so much for making it happen with John. Marcel, thank you for jumping on last minute and telling us about your cool experience. And thanks everybody for joining us on a Saturday. We'll see you guys next week. Later, guys.
Good night.
Let me hold on before Scott gets mad at me.
You're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home.